Oh, celebrate good times. Come on, I'm cool. And the gang. Hello. Hi,
Hello.
Duncan. How are you?
Yes, good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
you
good.
know, yeah.
That's it. Hello.
It's legitimately exciting. I'm so happy. Duncan did not say to me, "I'm going to open with that." We just went straight in and he did it. It makes me so happy. And I think we're all quite excited for a Pierce commentary or a Pierce Pierce party.
I don't know why. I don't know why he has become such a sort of unknowing champion for Val Verde or something.
He's he's like our kind of totem, isn't he? He's like the kind of Val Verde. He has totemic powers. I think that here's the thing. It's going to sound like I'm kind of like going to sound like I'm kissing your ass, which I'm not, because I genuinely just don't like you that much in Armitage. I loves you. You know I loves you. All right. People just don't do that voice. You never hear that voice done, and there is something like Pierce Brosnan has bottomless charisma in my eyes, and he just seems like a cool guy. Like, he hasn't got the most range as an actor, but as a performer he has presence, and I like to watch him in things. And he seems just kind of chilled out and relaxed, and I think you convey that in your Pierce, because it's not just a voice, it's a character, right? It's this whole, because we don't know him, it's based on what you've observed from drinking in Pierce. Pierce
drinking his Pierce.
His hot salty Pierce.
I suppose. I don't know. I think it's that. What I noticed as well is that compulsion to keep talking. But it's like so even when he runs out of words very quickly in interviews, but then he'll keep going, which is sort of for some reason very interesting to me. So.
Look, I gotta move
But it is, words still going.
And just like things such as taking a musical role in Mamma Mia, when he knows he can't sing and they know he can't sing, but everyone just goes on with it. I love that. That makes, I haven't watched Mamma Mia, but it makes it even more, even more Pierce-tastic,
Yeah. No, I saw it in the cinema with my mum. I was sort of forcibly dragged, but actually it's all right. It's all right. I mean, it is exactly what you think it's going to be, which is insanely cheesy, and yet it's one of those things that's greater than the sum of its parts, and it somehow is uplifting by the end, even though it's utterly ridiculous. But it's fun. It's it's just stupid fun. There you go. I guess
I've got a lot of people reacting to my new camera. I've been doing this for about 3 months. I don't know what's changed. I've been using the Blackmagic rig for the live streams from the second week, so I've been doing it since April or something. I just look shinier today. I did go for a big long bike ride, so maybe I'm just covered in sweat grease. Also, of course, the mighty Linda Hamilton.
Lest we forget, yes, of course, yes. Yeah, no, and in a sort of, I don't know what got her to come in for this, because it's kind of like she apparently wouldn't do anything else. You know what I mean? Like, she hasn't had the most sort of what would you say? I mean, she's not done the most stuff since T2, really.
Well, she did bail on. She bailed on Hollywood essentially, and then she came back and did some TV and stuff. But she just said she just wasn't having a good time. She didn't fit in. She didn't like it. So because this is 1997. This is quite a few years after Terminator 2, for example, and she was in Here's and There's, and she's so Terminator Bloody Dark Fate. It was not good. It was a nice Richard and Duncan movie review that we did once, which was a good video. I liked that video, but she was wonderful in that film. And it's just like she was way better than that material deserved. She was so nice. Like, she was really charismatic, and it's just like, fuck, man. Like, we've been missing out on Linda. We've been robbed of Linda all these years. I genuinely think that as well.
I think so. Do you think it was? I suspect it's because she obviously made an absolute killing. Because she basically got half the rights to T2, didn't she? I think, or half the what have yous, and I probably didn't have to work anymore, so it's just a case of... Yeah,
true. I suppose she just did well.
That speaks to another thing that I often get asked about. This sort of trickle-down effect from Hollywood. The kind of the kind of things that actors get asked, and they're always like, so what are you doing next? And like, how do you choose your roles? Well, I look for a connection with the character or whatever, and if I really feel like I can bring something to the story, then, or it'll be like, I campaigned to be in Christopher Nolan's next. I heard about fucking like Schindler's List, so I asked to be in it, and I was. And it's like, right, that's not how it works. Right. And what I get asked a lot, because I think sometimes when people interview me, because when they're scraping the bottom of a Z-list celebrity barrel, and they ask me questions, they often sort of ask me those kinds of questions, and it's like, dude, you've taken this off like what someone would ask Robert Downey Jr., not
right.
Me,
so what drew you to this role? The desire to eat and pay rent?
Yeah, exactly. The fact that even though it wasn't really paying that much, I might get more work off the back of it. It's that sort of. Or like, how do you choose roles? It's like the ones that are offered to me. Like, I mean, that's
right,
because it's such a different world. So yeah, I mean, I guess that speaks to that, because I think didn't Linda Hamilton go and live like in New Orleans or somewhere?
Oh, for real? No, I didn't know that. Yeah, I knew she kind of extricated herself, because she did like that show Chuck with Shazam. I've forgotten his name for the time being.
Zach Levi.
Yeah, Zachary Levi. Levi. Yeah, so she did that. I think she was in a position where people would lure her out of retirement into stuff.
Linda.
It's just got like a biscuit on a fishing rod or something. Don't scare her. Let her come. Let her come to you. Yeah, that. Go on. Okay, very good.
Joanne. I can't do Linda Hamilton.
I don't know why we've characterised her as an animal, because she's not like that at all. But we have.
No, a beautiful animal.
Yeah, indeed.
She does have a sort of lion's mane, so I guess.
Yeah, she really does, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just and she Children of the Corn as well, because people are just talking about Linda Hamilton Ross. I watched Children of the Corn after I watched Terminator Dark Fate, so I was kind of like, I really liked her performance. That was the diamond in that turd, and I wanted to get some more. I was high on Linda fumes, and I wanted a bit more, so I went and watched Children of the Corn, because that was kind of what I could get, really. And she was in the Beauty and the Beast TV show with Ron Perlman, of course.
Yeah,
there's another thing. But beyond that, because I mean, this one really sticks out, and it is odd. It's kind of like, it's fucking Sarah Connor and James Bond versus a volcano. Okay,
yeah,
sure, why not? Let's do that.
It's one of those, because it is a filler film, in that it's one of those things where it's like you take two fairly famous people with an ensemble cast of C-listers or whatever, and you plonk it in a schedule. So it's very much like it feels, and I don't know the backstory to this film at all. I'm not well versed in its kind of production history, but it feels very much like, quick, we've got James Bond, and quick, we've got Linda Hamilton. Like, because I gather he was doing press for Tomorrow Never Dies, or started filming Tomorrow Never Dies while he was doing press for this or something like that, and he was jumping between the two things, and it's like, it feels like one of those lash ups in a way, but it's like I think it's a really good lash up.
And it's when Terminator 3 was still on the wind, and because they offered her Terminator 3, the one that which is the best way to describe it. Oh yeah, she was in King Kong Lives. That's the so there was the Dino De Laurentiis remake of King Kong where he climbs the World Trade Center at the end famously, and then there was a sequel to that, King Kong Lives, and she was in that.
Right.
Which was just pointed out by Bicolored Prawn. I'm going to do the long list of shout outs, if I may, from the participant tab, if that's okay. Frank's in the room, by the way. Or has he fucked off again? Oh, god damn it, Frank. I was about to give you a shout out and you've gone. Aidan Lynn, Benjamin Dante, Bicolored Prawn, Brian Shields, Captain Meets Adventures, Dan Laws, DJ Coleman Music, Eric Granland, I Am Snorlax, Ian McGar, of course, who did our overlay, as usual. Kurt Coffeeman, Oi Oi, Mark Flanagan, Mark Skid, Michael Carpenter, Phil Robb, 1978, Professional Moron, Robert Myers, Ross Sanders, Ryan Swayze, 88, Sean Northridge, Simon Pope, Spaceport, Steve Allen, TA, and Turtle Flipper, Val Verde Broadcasting, that's you and me, and also Nikki, also known as Worms T17.
Very good.
I feel like some kind of low rent radio DJ when I do that, and to me that's an upgrade, and I feel really good about that. So I'm totally happy with that.
Could be on Norfolk Digital.
Again, an upgrade for me to be on Norfolk Digital. So hi everybody, how you doing? What's going on? Me and Duncan got straight in with our talk. Duncan and I got straight in with our talk. I should say.
Yes.
Yeah, come on. I just do. It's yet another thing that I ape from you, where I just sort of do. I just do my version of your version to myself when I'm like making porridge, and particularly in the wind up to this. The last 2 days in the wind up to this, I've just been walking around, because reading all the comments people put on the community post, I'm just walking around the house going, yeah, it's me, Pierce Brosnan. Because the hallmark of a really bad impression is the person saying the name of the person they're impersonating. It's like the shit kind of satirical cartoons in the tabloids where people wear T-shirts with their names on them. It's just sort of like, Gordon Brown, or whatever, like written on a because he's known for wearing a T-shirt. Whatever. It's me, Pierce Brosnan. That's my name. I say it all the time. Yeah,
I refer to myself in the third person. Yes. Golden eye. Yeah, it's not a good impression. I mean, it's funny.
No, but it's yours. This is what I love. That's what I was saying to you before. Because I put the community post to say, great movie. And Nikki just did it in the chat. And a bunch of people in the chat going, that's yours. That's yours. Yeah. That's your Pierce. Like, that's not. It's not like I'll be back or whatever. That's your Pierce. And I love it. I always love that because it's an obscure. It's just it's a weirdly obscure impression to do, and I don't know.
I don't know why it's so obscure. You would think that. Because everyone does a sort of Sean Connery, don't they? Or they do a Roger Moore, or but it's like no one sort of.
But even Roger Moore is kind of, because that's something that like Steve Coogan would do.
Yeah.
People don't do Dalton either. Watch the birdie, you bastard. Someone, this is probably a good place to start tonight, because I feel like there's not going to be much analysis tonight. Phil Rob 1978 asks us, or you more realistically. Someone asked earlier where the good movie, great movie thing came from. Duncan, can you elaborate?
Just a thing I observed him saying in a lot of interviews. Like, I mean, I'm sure if you go and watch any interviews he did, it's not. I don't know that he ever said exactly that. He might have done, but it's the sort of flippant throwaway. Well, like adjectives. That's what I mean. It speaks to the kind of like can't stop talking. The train has gone through the buffers and has kept going past the station. Sort of. I mean, it's purely, but it's just that this is sort of. So that was it. Great movie. Well, actually, do you know what? It's not a great movie. I think what I observed him doing a lot was saying so and so was really good. So like, we worked with Michael Apted, great director, great man, great movie. So he can't stop going. It's just like great director, fabulous man, huge penis, wonderful. And that's why he's kind of like Donald Trump, because he keeps going. You can't stop him.
It's the filibuster type thing.
It kind of is. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I think it plays to me. It plays to what I perceive to be Pierce's kind of just quite chill attitude and quite positive attitude to things. Like, you never see him like slagging people off or being moody. He's just sort of like, and he's always wearing like, and particularly in his older age, he's wearing a light cotton shirt with the buttons open, and he's always like, even on chat shows and stuff. In chat shows when he was doing Bond, even then, even though he was super kind of suited up and everything, he would always be one arm, just like he'd melted into the seat, because he just always seemed so cool. He never seemed sort of wound up. He just seemed sort of chilled out. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's Irish, Doherty Irish. I don't know. He it's the sort of lyricism, I think, which I guess is an Irish thing. It's that sort of flowery. It was really interesting watching that GoldenEye commentary, which I did, because it's that sort of have to almost write a little poem about everything you're going to talk about. Everything's got a sort of. Not iambic, but kind of like everything's sort of. And there she was, Famke, great, and the wonderful actress. The best time. I'm going down a trap again because I can't help myself. That's fun. That's great. She was the best. GoldenEye, fantastic.
Don't ruin Pierce. Don't ruin Pierce.
It's the only way in which they share similarities.
Just kind of melts into. I did go see. Now the thing is, our very own Ivan Williams is Irish, though he's lived here for a very long time. and Irish people are very particular about Ireland, as I don't blame them, frankly, and particularly how you pronounce the places in Ireland. Because I'm Scots, right, as are you, and like neither of us sound it. But you know, Scots Gaelic is the thing. Both my brothers have Scots Gaelic names, but I got the English one, which I'm still like, fuck you guys, but whatever. To mum and dad, mispronouncing places in kind of Gaelic and Irish language names is bad. So I've been to Drogheda, which is where Pierce Brosnan is from. I went there on a bus trip once, so we went there on a tour when I went to Ireland a couple of years ago, and we do have a couple of Irish viewers who always pipe up. Ian, of course, creator of the overlays, is from Ireland, and I'm probably pronouncing it very wrongly, but I once went through it on a guided tour, and they said that's where Pierce Brosnan's from, and I went, yeah, you know. And
the bus just stopped. And everyone looked round.
And they went, you must be friends with Duncan Casey from that YouTube channel. And I went, yeah, I am. I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy our content. Bye. That was in 2016, so it was before this channel existed. They left me at Drogheda. That's where they left me. Yeah.
One thing I'll say about this film actually is brilliant bit of casting. And Linda Hamilton's, the girl who plays Linda Hamilton's daughter, looks exactly like her. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No, I remember that she's in it.
Right.
So full disclosure, I haven't watched this in a while. I didn't have time to watch it this week, and I just thought we'd all just go along and have a fun Brit Pierce time, and it wouldn't matter.
Well, you should have watched it. It's basically, I mean, as a film, it's basically Jaws, but a volcano.
Oh, dude, I've seen it like a bunch of times, just to be clear. It's not like I've never watched it. Like, I've watched it loads of times. I just haven't recently, is my confession. It doesn't seem to be on TV, either.
No, weirdly. I suppose not, but it's on Netflix, where it has been for a while. Oh dear, I need to re-download Netflix, my iPad, sorry. You have... Good thing I checked.
You have 13 minutes, that's more than adequate. More than adequate. So all the annoyed Irish people, who have every right to be annoyed, are saying that if I was to phonetically pronounce it, Drogheda, or but Ian says Drawheader. But Dennis Reynolds are I'm going with Ian. Drawheader. I'm so sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. This is it's every time. It's, you know, like when the first time you see Siobhan written down, and you're like, Siobhan. What mental Irish? The Irish people are now going. Led by Ian? What mental Irish towns can we get them to try and pronounce? Yeah, that would be a challenge.
Isn't there a Welsh town that's got a sign that's like 5 meters long?
I used to do the company I did tours for. Isn't doing tours, but yeah, I've been there. We do tours there. And Liam Dutton from Channel 4 News, they used to get him to read the weather for that place and read it out. And if anyone's, I'm just going to post this into the chat. Welsh town with, actually, the interesting thing behind that is that it was actually a publicity stunt in the Victorian times. In Victorian times, they wanted to draw people to that town, so they made up a long name to make them there. So when you go there, if you actually go there, there's a railway station with the hilarious long sign with which you take a picture. There is a Pringle shop. No, there's a shop that sells Pringle items. You can buy a Pringle sweater, but other things. And then there's a shop that sells kind of key rings of the name. But that's it. There's fuck all there. Like, it's mostly houses and stuff. So if you are now, the Welsh languages, you know, the Celtic languages, man, fucking beautiful. I'm going to post this into the chat, everybody. Oh no, dude, I've got 2 people ahead of me already done it. There's perhaps some Americans having strokes. If you struggled with Worcester or Leicester, this is your reckoning, my friends.
Yeah. We have a place near us in Lincolnshire called Cobbett, but it's spelt cowbite.
Oh,
which is,
well, there's like, because like Cockburn Port,
it's
pronounced Coburn. Actually, no, it's not. Your name's got cock in it, and you tried to change it. That's what that is. Because there's Cockburn Street in Cambridge as well, and it's supposedly Coburn Street. And it's kind of like, yeah, right, okay. It's like Mr. Penis Head or whatever. It's Hyacinth Bouquet. That's what that is.
Yes, yeah.
I'm absolutely convinced. Someone mentioned. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
Oh, someone was just saying. So Linda Hamilton in the show Chuck did a bit with Timothy Dalton, which to me sounds magical. I would love to watch that.
And the Pierce Brosnan's character in this film is called Dr. Harry Dalton. So there you go. It's like poetry, right? Yeah, his name's Dr. Dalton.
Come on, we gotta run away from the volcano. This acid is made of lake. This is a great start. No, Linda Hamilton's
turned to lake water. We gotta get out of here. Get out of here.
We're gonna have to push your granny in to survive. Yeah, great granny.
He does say a lot of sort of Arnie things. This is like, get out of there. Come on, go. Do it now. But that's what I remember from this film is a lot of kind of rushing about. Like, naturally.
I put it in a bracket with Twister. And Twister is this. I think did we talk about Twister recently? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I had an ex-girlfriend who absolutely adored Twister, and fair play, it's up to her. I just don't get it. And definitely, if to put the two together, I prefer this to Twister, like, massively. Like, it's way better than Twister.
Yeah, I rate this higher than Twister. The only thing I'll say, Twister, it's all part of that. I suppose what I like about this over most of the 90s disaster porn stuff is that, firstly, it's a little bit more contained. It's not the globe, the whole world's going to explode. But secondly, it has a sort of romance angle, but it doesn't have that overwrought emotional. Like, with Twister, it's like it has to have that those crazy emotional. I swear that the reason why there's this big romantic blow up in rain between Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, Bill Pullman, is because that's what happened in Notting Hill, in Four Weddings and a Funeral. And it's just like why are you having an argument in the rain? It's the same thing with like Armageddon and even Volcano with his daughter. It's all that sort of like Armageddon. Whereas in this, it's sort of, you don't really have that. You have that a bit, but it's more about like just running away from imminent danger rather than I always wanted to be a good father to you.
Then the 90s very much went into that cliche of like kind of the two salty experts having a kind of because it's a take on the kind of screwball romance, right? It's the kind of fast talking sort of bantery will they won't they shit. Yeah, so they're mean to each other because they want to see each other's genitals, whatever, they're in love, whatever.
Fuck you.
Did you used to watch Big Train? Do you remember Big Train?
Vaguely. I mean, not a lot, no, but I did watch it.
There's a great version of that with, I think it's Julia Deakin and it's not Julia Deakin. Anyway, Simon Pegg and they're doing exactly that. They're in the desert and it's kind of like, well, maybe if you hadn't got us here, we wouldn't be lost. How dare you? Take your hands off me! And then you hear like a big rumble and he grabs her and she goes like, don't you touch me! And he goes, quickly, get on the roof! They do all the kind of stuff from this and Twister. And then they get on the roof and then a stampede of about 100 jockeys swamps their van and runs past him, and then he just goes, jockeys, something must have spooked him, and he just cuts away, and that's the end of the sketch. This is great. But what it is, someone explaining sketches to you is like your dad doing Monty Python bits, which is horrible, which is what I've just done. But it's a perfect little kind of 1 minute capsule of the really trite relationships they put in a bunch of these films around this time. Because it is in Jurassic Park to a degree, but it's done well, and I think that's what these other films wanted. They wanted that kind of Laura Dern and Hellman. Thank you. Hellman. Yeah, Hellman. You don't need eyes. I'm from a spaceship.
Oh, right. I'm from a space.
You remember the famous line from Event Horizon? You don't need eyes. I'm from a spaceship.
He's another one, actually. Sam Neill has a bit of a Brosnan-y voice, which is weird. Well, he was born in Ireland, actually.
He was, yeah. And he's got that. I would put them in a similar bracket, and I think they were sought out for similar roles and did kind of similar stuff.
Well, Neil went up for Bond. As you can see, his test reel online. He did.
Do you think? Yeah. Do you think the genuine question here, actually, to a kind of a Bond? Oh no, I haven't put my little lights on. Genuine question to a Bond fan. Do you think, because Antipodeans are discussed in relationship to Bond a lot, and such as Sam Neill, Chris Hemsworth, and there's a few others. And did George Lazenby create a phobia of that, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think because
I think there is definitely an Australian or a Kiwi actor that could do it. I really think so. But there seem to have been some really obvious ones along the years, and they haven't gone for it. And I sort of wonder. I wonder now, like, are they worried that people are going to kick off if you have a non-English Bond? Because like Daniel Craig, Daniel Craig was like the first English Bond since Roger Moore.
Yeah,
because Dalton's Welsh, right? And obviously Brosnan's Irish, and Connery's Scottish. So like he was like the first English Bond, and I wonder if maybe people would be funny about that or no. I don't know, because they tended to be British Isles, except from, well, careful what I say about Ireland, but Pierce Brosnan shares a landmass with Britain and whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas Australia decidedly doesn't in terms of Lazenby.
Very much not. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, it's funny. I think, bear in mind, we're in a completely different era now, and I don't know. I mean, this is the age-old question that I get asked.
I know this bores the dick off you. I know. I'm sorry, man.
No. I mean, I think, I gather that the point of that role is not to just hand it to the next and famous man. From, you know what I mean? Like, they don't just go on IMDb and filter out by star meter who's like, well, can do a British accent. Like, cool, crikey, blimey, governor, you're in. Like, whoever's Mr. Famous Man. I don't think it works like that. I don't know. I mean, I genuinely don't know, and I don't think they know, and I don't think we certainly don't know. So I think it's a case of just whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what way they're going to take it. I mean, because, dude, like, I remember Daniel Craig. Okay, full disclosure. I remember talking to my weed dealer about who was going to be about Daniel Craig wearing a.
You could have said anything.
Oh, fuck. No, I might, because it's okay because it's so long ago. Like, I remember talking to him because he was annoyed about Daniel Craig turning up to the press conference in a tuxedo and a kind of safety jacket flotation device thing. He come on a boat down the Thames and he was wearing.
That was the premiere. He turned up to the announcement.
So it was like a press conference, right?
Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
And that must have been 2004, and he's 5. He's still the tenured Bond.
I know. He's been. It's the longest run now, and especially because this one's been delayed. It's like, yeah. So he gets that kind of step because he's, bless him. I mean, fucking hell, man. Like, that's a rough gig, mate. You're on set every day getting blown up for 6 months. And then, it sounds fucking exhausting, man. Like, dude, I mean, it's well remunerated, let's put it that way. I mean, I don't think I'd be that worried about having to do that every now and then. I mean, he doesn't do them that often. There's every 5 years.
No, true. Yeah, he's not. I do sort of feel like he's been untaxed in that role. Because it's been, he's done... Is this his 5th in 15 years?
Yeah,
it's his 5th in 15 years.
I mean, he's done as well. He'll have done 5 where Moore had already done 7 by now.
Yeah,
so,
right. Well, yeah, because it's less lazy, just lazy. The mighty Carl Goddard has just popped in to say that Dalton was born in Derbyshire, so technically English, but lived in Wales for his early years. And Brosnan is an American citizen. That doesn't surprise me.
I think Daniel Craig is as well. Yeah?
Floyd75 Dylan says, could Statham be Bond? I'll answer for Duncan. Yes. What? What about the job? Have you seen the supercut of Statham saying the job?
No.
It's magnificent. Turns out, in a lot of his films, he says the job a lot. Like a supernatural amount that I wonder it might become self-aware. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, Dijon Coleman. I'm not reading. No, I'm not reading that out. That's mean. I'm not reading that out. That's mean. Okay, so we got 1 minute left till. You just read it.
Yeah.
Everyone else can read. Hey, Ryan Ricardo's here.
Hey, Ryan.
It's nearly time for the film, guys. It's 2029. I've already queued mine up. Hold on. Is your Netflix all installed? You ready to go? Or you need a minute?
I am. No. It's on. I'm on the peak.
He's on the peak. He's on the peak, So if you have missed this, this is on Netflix, on UK Netflix. I don't know if it's on American Netflix or in your region, but for those of you in Britain, it's on Netflix, so you can watch it for free. So I'll give you a minute. It's not quite 1:30. When it's 1:30, I'll do my incongruously, weirdly numbered countdown. Or maybe perhaps why do I always do the countdown? You could do the countdown. I don't know why I do that. That's
all right.
Because
you're a control freak.
I mean, the thing is, Duncan knows me and knows that's true. It's not really a joke. Yes, I am. Yeah, you should do it. Do it,
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it from a sensible number this time, I think.
Well, boo! No one wants that. The people don't want that.
Well, boo, mate.
Oh, mate. Oh, no, mate. I'm fucking James Bond, mate.
I'll count back from 7. I tell you what, I'll count back from 7 because this stars 007, but it also Dante was obviously Dante's Inferno 7 Rings of Hell. That sort of ties into the number 7.
Imagine the intro to a Bond film, but this time with 7 barrels.
There it is.
Can I do it?
There it is. Barrel.
I'm James Bond. That's how it goes, isn't it? I've seen it.
I've seen
it. Oh god. Yeah. Okay. Countdown from 1, says D. John Coleman. Mad lad.
Right. Well, when are we instigating said countdown? Is it?
I am hovering. I'm ready to go.
Are you ready to go? Okay. I hope you're all ready to go at home, because here we go. Shall we counting back from 7 and 7, 6, 5, great number 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, that was powerfully erotic.
I barely got that out. Well, yeah, I actually kind of missed it and had to hit it again. So I'm a little bit. Anyway, okay. Universal logo. Okay. It's fine. Shut up. Whatever.
Nick Matteo says Pierce is working on a Lawnmower Man reboot for Netflix. Nick, that better be true. If that's a joke, I'm going to be really upset. Right? I forgot he's a Lawnmower Man.
Yeah,
he did. And then in the second one, they just bring in a sort of Pierce alike and give him a different name.
It's funny how like you look back in time and it's like how quickly things seem to work. Because obviously something that was brought to our attention and was the Robin Hood thing.
Oh, and that seems to have blown up this week, by the way. Have you seen? Like Dan Lyles sent us in this chat weeks ago, and then on Twitter this week it blew up, and I had loads of people throwing it at me, and it just sort of had a kind of semi-viral. Val Verde did it first. They didn't. Dan Lyles did it first.
Yeah, it like, and that's like what I think it was 2 years before he was James Bond or something, and it's like, and the change around from like how old he looks to there is like really weird, and also how weird he acts.
That whole thing is weird because it's just like, because he'd obviously done Remington Steele, and he wasn't Bond, but he'd missed out on Bond, and he'd done a bunch of stuff. And it's kind of like, yeah, we're filming Robin Hood. We need some behind the scenes. Let's just get another movie star to do a weird 30
was he a movie star? I mean, I don't know.
Well, no. I mean, he was in movies, let's say. He's not a movie star. That's probably a bit. He was in movies. And he was definitely, Remington Steele was kind of a big deal on TV in the States. Like,
it's just weird that you would go to someone like that to present a thing.
And it seems like they just kind of went, off you get. The jumping off point for that is just like, yeah, off you get. Don't worry about it.
Weirdly smug, odd, like, it's like Robin Hood, and it's like, what? Like, think of a number. It's 5. It's like, what? Like, what is going on? Why am I watching it? One point he says like,
oh god,
cows were smaller back in Robin's day. And cows or something. And he walks. It's like, what are you talking about, mate? What is going on?
That feels like he just filibustered and they cut it together, because he's got that kind of like cool geography teacher thing, or not cool, geography teacher that thinks they're cool with his 90s round specs and his glasses, but he's doing a really drama school kind of like Robin Hood. But what does it mean? Is he a man or a legend? Cows were smaller. It's just like, what are you talking about? Stop. Just stop.
You're not making me want to see this film, mate. You are making me want to see more of this car crash. And it's just like, I think it's one of those things when they would try and make a 2-hour like thing of it on commercial television, because it's clearly got commercial breaks in it, so it's meant to sort of bookend the making of Robin Hood, right? Obviously around when it was coming out, so it probably went on ITV or something, and you had to have an intro and an outro.
Oh, and it was 100% those. You would see those on Saturday afternoons, wouldn't you? On ITV all the time, those kind of things.
It's just funny. But anyway, Dante speak.
I guess. I'm not going to pretend that we're going to stay on the rails tonight. But I do sort of feel like we get this... We've settled into this consistent groove with the watch parties, and I think it's the same people here every week. And I think they're used to us. I hope. Perhaps I'm, making rough my own back here, but they're used to us. And I think something like this, people aren't expecting. I mean, it's highfalutin to suggest that we give any kind of analysis ever. We do try, but when there's silly voices to be done and fart noises to be made,
When there's analysis to be, I mean, I thought with Silence of the Lambs,
that was a good one.
There's lots of it. Yeah, one thing I'll say that I forgot to mention, which is a bit late to be doing it now, but I forgot my little thing about at the start of that. Hannibal says that's the Duomo scene from the Belvedere, which is his way of force, because they find Buffalo Bill in Belvedere, don't they? So it's a way of saying he knew all along, and that was his plan. And then obviously he ends up in Florence, which is what it's talking about. Anyway, sorry, I just had to get it off my chest because otherwise. I don't know. Anyway, Pierce Brosnan, Dante.
Oh yeah, sorry. Steve Allen has just pointed out very rightly that Brosnan was in Nomads, McTiernan's first movie, and that's a fucking weird film, and he's in it, and it's odd. Yeah, Frank Allen, who has left the chat, sent me. There's a film called what's it called? Livewire. Have you seen Livewire with Pierce?
I think I've seen Livewire 2.
What? There's another one.
Yeah, I think so. Oh no, isn't. I can't remember. Is Livewire a sequel to something else, like The Train That Couldn't Slow Down or whatever it is?
No, Livewire's the one where, and there's something that Frank sent me years ago and I watched. It's where Pierce plays a bomb disposal expert, and there's a terrorist guy who has made a formula that you can inject into people that turns them into a human bomb. So there's a bit where there's a clown who's had it injected into him, and Pierce puts him in a wheelchair and runs with him and pushes him into like a Ferris wheel or something, and he blows up. It's
set in Amsterdam or something, because I remember
No, it's in America. It's in America.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
What's the one? Because I'm sure it's a sequel to. Anyway, there's one where he looks like he's got long hair and a weird sort of Guy Fawkes beard thing going on. It's not the one.
Oh yeah. No, that's not Livewire. Livewire is Pierce's default Pierce bomb disposal. It's very speed.
I'm sure. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up because I'm sure that's a sequel to it.
To Livewire.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Livewire. James Atkins says Livewire 2 is a dolled up sequel which has nothing to do with the original. I had no idea there's a Livewire 2. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's what I'm sure it's on YouTube as well.
Oh, because Livewire was, because Frank just sent me a copy. He was like, dude, no one's protecting the copyright on Livewire.
Seizing on that.
Oh, Frank Island is here. Frank Island's here. He's giving us some hearts. The mighty Frank Island.
There's Detonator 2, which is Detonator 2 Night Watch, which I think is that. Yes. Oh no!
Don't forget Heart Attack guy from The Thing, whose name I don't know.
No, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Detonator was the movie to which so Detonator is Death Train. Detonator is the train that couldn't slow down.
Train that couldn't slow down.
And then Detonator 2 Night Watch is the one that I was talking about, where he for some reason looks like Guy Fawkes.
Wait, so there's a sequel to The Train That Couldn't Slow Down? I didn't know that.
There is.
Wow. When Pierce is back and he's got a Guy Fawkes beard and stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's called The Amsterdam That Couldn't Slow Down or something. and that came out in 95. So if you think about it, that's the same year as Goldeneye. So it's pretty nuts.
My god!
He did a sequel to this Train That Couldn't Slow Down the year he was James Bond, which is pretty nuts.
Wow!
So it can all turn around for you in a year.
Old Patrick Stewart he's the bad guy in Death Train, isn't he?
He is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to make this train not slow down. No, don't make it slow down.
It's just that crackling.
Make it slow down.
It's that crackling dialogue. I'm number one. I'm going to make the train not slow down. See, I do.
The train it couldn't slow down.
I do Captain Picard all the time, but it's not based on any kind of observation. I just a generic posh man. That's my sort of It's no good. It's no good. Daniel Hara with 2 A's. Daniel Hara. How many watch parties is this now? This COVID thing has gone on far much longer than I expected. We started in April, with Fantastic Four. It's been a lot.
Yeah, it's been a long time now.
We got a crazy batting average on these fuckers, man.
No, we really appreciate everyone's kind of participation, and I've got some PayPal shout-outs to do.
We've just had a super chat as well, by the sound of things.
Ah, wonderful.
Oh no, we didn't. We got a subscriber. Pardon me.
Very good. Also good. one thing that struck me about this, because I rewatched this a few weeks ago with my wife, as it turns out. We just randomly put it on because we just wanted something to kind of sit on our iPhones and not watch.
Why not?
But then it obviously occurred to me that like he looks very much like he does in Tomorrow Never Dies in this, because he was filming Tomorrow Never Dies at this point as well. So like it's weird how like it's one of those. I remember when like I guess because this was in my formative years, so he was James Bond at that point. But it was like any time a film came out with James Bond actor in it not being James Bond, it was a really weird thing to see them on the cover of something. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes people have that character they're so associated with, and it's like they have a look that they have to maintain, I guess, when they're doing it. And
sure,
it's like what's his name?
That man, the man from the things. John's spaceship from Event Horizon.
No, I'm not going to say the thing that makes everyone know who I'm talking about. Magnum PI. What's his name?
Oh, Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck. Thank you. Sorry. He always had that problem. He said like he always struggled to transition into movies because like they put his face on anything and they're like, oh, it's Magnum PI, and then everyone's disappointed when it isn't.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, Michael Boyle sent us £10. Thank you, Michael. He said, great movie. Yeah, Christopher Tregena. Sorry about not pronouncing that right. It sent us £5. Thank you so much. Andrew Capitz sent us £10 as well. So thank you so much, guys. That's really sweet.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very
kind. Thank you. Keeps the lights on. Keeps these Primark lights on. Thank you very much. And I look at the poor batteries that my whiskey bottle is just. The batteries are dead on my whiskey bottle.
Oh.
Shame. Oh no! I have to put some more.
Look at those Soviet nuclear batteries we talked about last.
Yeah, that's why my hair fell out.
See, one thing I would say about this film is that where a lot of the money seems to have gone is into the crowd scenes.
Oh my god! Because this is the thing. Because it's funny because you think of this film in a sort of diminutive way because it's about a volcano attacking a small town, but in terms of staging a film. Yeah, there's the crowd scenes in this are nuts. Like, and actually, to be fair, quite a lot of the staging in it, because like even when they're on the the acid that's turned to lake, as I said earlier, with the the staging of that, they're in a rowboat and there's kind of dry ice and it's like a big lake and stuff. It's really good. Like it's really
it's probably a tank, a backlot tank with a it's a set. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think it would have been.
There's a lot of that stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff in this that I think, all right, there's a lot of sort of set SFX gag-driven stuff. But then there's also, like those crowd scenes are super expensive. Like they have one where they're all in the town hall, don't they, as well? And it's like, you've got a whole room, and then you've got crowds on the streets running around. I mean, I'm wondering if this is a town set. It might be.
Well, that's because the fucking Universal backlot, right? That's in so many. It's like Back to the Future, and it's in like a ton of, and Gremlins and a ton of movies. So yeah, there's so much of this kind of real estate exists in the States where they just go off and make, and then they reuse it for sitcoms and whatever.
But there's some really good gags, and like there's at one point there's a sort of church tower falls over, and you hear the bell, and it's all brick. If you build stuff to fall over, it's got to look like an actual building. So, but a lot of this does, I think, looks like a set. Does look like a set. But a good
even stuff really like that, like that shot there. I mean, maybe there was a parade happening on that day or something. But like, it's sort of like we talked about this with Starship Troopers. It's that kind of look where, I mean, Starship Troopers is very purposefully imitating Leni Riefenstahl. But that aside, it requires that you do these insane shots where they have like all these soldiers on parade and stuff in the background, and they very rarely use soft focus in that. It's all kind of like narrow aperture, all the way. And it's similar photography here, and you just get like all these people just like pushing babies around and stuff in the background, and like cars driving past and shit, and it just creates this real, you wonder how much money was spent and how much was opportunistic and whatever.
That's the funny thing though, is if you're gonna mount a massive production like that, the cost of making it look just like a normal street where if it wasn't a big production you could just go and sneakily film. Because I've done my share of those kinds of films where we just went and shot, and because I'm not Pierce Brosnan obviously or Linda Hamilton, no one bothered. That's the thing, no one really looks. I mean, they might see a camera and sort of be semi-interested, but that's about it. So it's kind of but all this stuff, when I look at that, those are all extras, man. They're all background artists, and you look at that massive group of people.
I love to, in my quiet moments, I love to think about people. A shot like that, The car comes in, you've got all the crowd, she has to walk up and deliver a line. So far it's one take, right? So you've got that kind of pan and zoom in, and then you cut there. It doesn't feel that long, but if any one of those three people fucks anything up, you got to do the whole thing again. Everyone's back on their ones, like not necessarily extras in every situation, but it's all back. And it's like, that's a 12-second shot. Quite an elaborate setup, really. And if, like, you know, Linda Hamilton farts or, you know, whatever, they have to do the whole thing again.
All the background would have been on ones anyway, because you'd always reset them, because you don't know. Again, that's that thing of, because that's such a massive thing to marshal. Yeah,
managing a crowd, they don't. There's no organic way to do that. Or it is organic and you can't control.
You'll have ADs in there, sort of telling people where to go and, you know, making sure everyone's on their first positions and everything. But, you know, that whole parade, that mass of people has to get back to its first position, because the thing is, if you don't do it the same every time, you don't know what coverage they're going to want to use, and then you don't know where it's going to, you know, it's going to look really weird that the crowd are sort of shunted forward several feet or whatever. So it's kind of, you know, you have to reset every time, and that's, you're right.
And stuff,
and they'd have to have done that shot probably 2 or 3 times, I would have thought, even if assuming everything.
Well, just for safety, like just for safety. I would just friends of the show. I wish I had a button to press it. Go. Micah Brooks in the house. Micah Brooks is here, and Vote Saxon 07 in the room. Friends of the show.
I hope you didn't hear the Irish jokes earlier.
Well, they weren't jokes. It was just us being culturally ignorant. Oh wait, that's worse. Sorry, I was
willfully.
That should be our strapline. Val Verde Broadcasting, willfully italics, culturally ignorant.
Very good.
Oh, very good, very good. So here comes Acid Gran. I'm Acid Gran.
Acid Gran. You never saw her before or since?
No, they actually killed her. She was a real homeless lady they did up for this film, and then drowned her in a lake of acid. For realism, you know. It's in my contract that every film I do, a granny has to die.
You die another day.
Granny dies another day. Change the title before it came out.
Speaking of putting films on that you're just going to sit on your phone or whatever on a lazy Sunday afternoon, I put Die Another Day on the other day because I had a little bit of work I needed to do, and I was like, sod it, I'm just going to put it on. My wife was kind of napping, and I actually enjoyed it. We both ended up. Well, but she sat down for a nap, so I was like, well, I'm just going to put a Bond film on, and then I was like, let's put on this because it's really bad. But it's, you know, I wanted to retest my kind of. I wanted to reassess kind of how I felt about that film, because obviously it's the go-to, it's the shit Bond film. But then I was like, is it? And you know, I sort of had this reappraisal or thought about it recently, which is just like, but it's got the formula of like Spy Who Loved Me or whatever. It's like, you know, if you can be fine with a car that turns a Lotus that turns into a submarine, then surely you can be fine with an invisible Aston Martin.
And I just thought maybe silly as any of those. I think it's a bit of a left turn, perhaps, for the Boston era of stuff, which was fairly silly. But like, yeah, if you made that script with Roger Moore, no one would complain.
I think you're right. I think it's more the context of the time, and I just wondered if we'd gotten away from that. Now maybe it makes sense in isolation, kind of thing. And it was fun. It was fun. I mean, it's stupid, but it's fun. You know, it's a fun film. I hate Madonna, but that's...
I think it was on that cusp. You know what? That was just before people realised they wanted Batman Begins. And I love that movie, but that's something that we're only just recovered from in the last few years. Is that everything has to be grimdark. You know what I mean? Because it was like, that's why Craig Bond happened. We have to have the reboot and make it sensible and stuff. And everything's grown up. I remember when that happened, I was about 18, 19. And I was suddenly kind of like, oh yeah, no, everything needs to be very serious, and these things to be taken very serious. Because that's when I'd just read, like, I'd read Dark Knight Returns a few years before. It's like, everything has to be taken very serious because I read Dark Knight Returns. And it's like, you've read Dark Knight Returns. Look at how silly that book is. It has sensible kind of, it puts itself forward as serious, but the point is it's also ridiculous. But as an 18-year-old, I was kind of like, oh no, this is definitely basically Beckett. This is really serious. This is Shakespeare. This is totally very serious. Everything has to be serious. You know, and we seem to have come at the other side of that now, which is great, because it's okay to have fun with things. And people often say, you know, everything being very serious was a reaction to 9/11, and it's kind of like, maybe after 9/11 we needed to smile a little, but no, we had to be very serious for about 10 years, and then we decided we should probably have a laugh.
Well, I think it was more I suppose the 9/11 thing was that there was more, the reaction was, we can't be flippant about who saves the day anymore. You know, it can't be easy or from a gadget.
Sure,
it has to be, you know, hard won. But no, it was nice. It was nice to see my old pal Ian, name drop. But yeah, Ian, my friend Ian's in Die Another Day.
Ian Fleming. He's in Die Another Day, and he's Duncan's friend. These are all true facts. Subscribe, buy a T-shirt, go on Patreon. He knows he can ask Ian Fleming questions, even though he's dead. Sorry, I've derailed that with this. That wasn't even flight of fancy. That was just me being an idiot. Carry on.
The girl looks like Linda Hamilton. I think she looks an awful lot like her. Look.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I do love that. I love when they're casting siblings or parents or kids, and they find someone that really makes sense as that. You know, I thought so. Fucking what was it? What's that? Those bloody movies.
Fucking what is it?
Fucking what? What's the thing where Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg are in?
Will Ferrell.
Ferrell. Basically, in a not very good sequel, not a very good film, they cast John Lithgow as Will Ferrell's dad, and it's like, oh, they don't look exactly like, but they both are capable of that kind of goofy thing, and it makes sense. They look pretty good. They're conceivable. It's when you have really incongruous father-son, because it's kind of like Sean Connery as Indiana Jones's dad, right? They don't look the same, they don't sound the same, but they have the same energy, and that's what's important. They have a kind of vibe that makes sense, like, you know, the kind of, and it helps that he was Bond, but they have a kind of energy. There's a vibe to it that makes you kind of feel like, yeah, that could be his dad. You know, I get that. As sometimes people just weirdly look alike. It's like Woody Harrelson and all right.
Matthew
McConaughey. They cast them as brothers in Ed TV, the Ron Howard movie.
Oh right,
and they're brothers, and it's like, oh fuck yeah, because they don't look exactly the same, because brothers don't, but they look enough alike where it's like, yeah, he could totally be his brother. Like, that absolutely makes sense. It's a really good bit of casting on a visual level. Daddy's Home. Everyone's saying Daddy's Home. Yes, I went to see Daddy's Home 2 with a girl I was briefly dating. And that's how I've seen Daddy, and that's my Get Out clause.
That's always how I end up seeing shit films. Like, I saw one of the Hunger Games because the girl I was dating.
Oh dude, I saw that fucking Christmas just gone. I watched that fucking Emma Thompson heart transplant George Michael movie. Last Christmas.
Oh, okay.
It's directed by Paul Feig. It was definitely terrible, but you know, I was on a date, so I went and watched it.
My second date with my wife was to go and see Annabelle in the cinema.
A horroring film.
It was, and I thought it was all. Oh, it's not very good. But it's
That's
all right,
a spin-off of The Conjuring, isn't it? Or is The Conjuring a spin-off of that? I don't know. I don't watch those.
One of those. Yeah, it's one of those. It is, yeah. It's like a prequel or something. And then we sat down with this because the sequel, which is I think a prequel to Annabelle, is on Netflix. So we sat down to watch it, and then we realised we'd already tried to watch it before, and it's so god awful. Turned it off.
Did it have that little red line where you'd been 15 minutes in? And
I say that knowingly as someone who has participated in Annabelle prequel movies. So
indeed.
I'm not saying I'm better than that. I'm just saying it.
Ian McGarr, friend of the show, contributor to the show, creator of Overlays, has not seen Dante's Peak. Ian McGarr has revealed in the chat that he's seen every Twilight. Now, Ian, we love you, man. You do amazing work for us every week. Every Twilight. I sort of want to give you a hug. Jesus. I don't think I've seen any of those, man.
Give him a hug or let him have it with both.
Barrel. Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I did it before you. I ruined it. I'm the worst. I'm sorry. Just gonna play off the sound desk over here. You just carry on. Pretend.
Yes. Well, no, I've not seen any Twilight because fuck that. Quite frankly, I mean, nothing against it. It's one of those things where you as you grow up, you go like, I'm not angry that those are things. I'm just not into them. I remember one girl I knew. Biblically was
biblically.
Sorry, biblically was sort of into that, so much so that she had like posters of Robert Pattinson all over the place. And then she said, I remember her saying like, you know, he does his own music, he plays his own music, it's on Spotify or whatever. And I was like, so do I. But is that what this is about?
I can imagine Duncan was like wiping his dick on the curtains. It's music's on Spotify. Oh yeah, is it? Yeah.
Huh?
Ian McGarr,
my essence is on your curtain.
My essence. They smell like Whitley Bay. Ian McGarr has said different girlfriends are as well compensated. Good. Oh, fair play them. Ian McGar watched every Twilight.
Well compensated.
I was well compensated. Battle. Ian McGar smashed some purse to go watch the Twilight films. I'm sorry, I can't believe I said that. I feel like I've got to wash my mouth out now. So anyway, I like how the man from The Thing is being tracked with the camera by the director Roger Donaldson. He's conveying that the man's moving for a room, and also sometimes volcanoes. Duncan, what do you think about Dante's Peak?
This is obviously where it turns. I mean, it's like I said, it's Jaws with a volcano, but it's what's turned on its head is that obviously the mayor is more the kind of Brody character, and then you've got the kind of I suppose what would be the Hooper character.
Yeah,
the kind of naysayer, I guess.
Also, there's a lady in like Margaret Thatcher fancy dress in this scene. Did you see it in the blue suit and stuff?
And the pearls.
And the pearls, yeah. So, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but was it Charles Hallahan is the man from The Thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know his name.
He looks like a dirty shitter and someone who has to strain.
I got to... everyone's a foot stamper with him, innit?
Yeah, he's worn out the lino.
He's worn out the lino. Oh, fuck a duck. Oh my god. Right, so wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm into the inner life of Ian McGar. That's what's going on right now. My first ever date was Wally. I cried when he died. Don't cry on a date, man. Jesus
Your
Christ.
first ever date? I took my little cousins to go and see Wally, which wasn't a date at all. But they were like, they were little kids, and it was my. In terms of firsts, I suppose it was the first time I had ever been solely responsible for infants. So I suppose it was. Yeah.
Oh, dude, what a great movie! Great movie. You know.
Great Wally, great movie.
Take the toddlers, take the infants to the movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
My impression is just, I don't even know what it is. Brosnan does not sound in the least bit Irish, does he? He's in that kind of crazy transatlantic triangle. Well, I don't see it.
Less so now. Like if you listen to his stuff now, he loves to say the word art. He'll crowbar that into anything, I've noticed. So like especially on that, she's great, wonderful. I'm a big admirer of her femininity. Her art.
He does have those.
Kind of a bit American like with it. He goes,
yeah, he does have those kind of curling like kind of. Yeah, no,
which I think is a sort of just because he's bear in mind like he's married to an American, he's got American kids, he lives in Hawaii, I think. I was very sad to hear that because he battled to get they battled. They were part of his deal for Die Another Day was that they'd give him one of the Aston Martins, and in the last minute they tried to renege on it, and he was like he kicked up a stink, and his agent, this is what he said anyway, his agent insisted, and so they ended up making him his own Vanquish with his nameplate on the sill, and then the fucking thing burnt up. He had his house fire. His house caught fire in Hawaii, and the fucking car went up with it. So he's still got the nameplate.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I was like, that sucks. But there you are. It burned up in an inferno, rather like a Dante. Let's talk about this film.
We've got lots of date movies. Robert Mayer says his was over the top, amazing. I Am Snorlax, Resident Evil Apocalypse. Yeah, he says. Also amazing. It just sounds like Ian McGar's been getting laid to Pixar movies forever. Jesus Christ. Michael Carpenter says Dragonheart. Toy Story 4. Ian, stop, for fuck's sake. Who else? We got first date movies all over the place. Yeah, there you go. Ian McGar just gets laid to Pixar movies, apparently. We got Disney Plus now, son. They can come over. You don't have to take them to the cinema anymore. It's too much COVID. Get on Tinder. Get him over on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus and chill.
Disney Plus. Yeah, it doesn't work quite as well as it. Disney Plus and chill.
But I saw this in the cinema. I think this and Volcano, because obviously the companion piece or the comparable companion piece to this is Volcano. I think,
of course, we haven't talked about that yet, have we?
Well, I think of all the of all the '90s disasters things, this is up there, man. I mean, I don't mind if I'm feeling really scuzzy, I'll watch Armageddon, but I'm not a fan of that really. But
that is a scuzzy movie.
This just has a much more kind of innocent thing about it. You know what I mean? It just has a bit more. It feels less grubby than any of the other ones that came out. I
get that, particularly when you talk about Michael Bay, of course. Because they are kind of grubby, but
I mean, even next to Volcano, this feels like less of a cynical cash grab and more of a, like a genuine. Like I said, it's an in-betweeny movie. It's a sort of lash up, in a way, but I think it's got heart, and it's nice. I do think. What? Who said what?
No, I'm not reading out what I just saw. I'm not. Carry on. I'm not reading that out.
I'm trying to look for what you said now. You derailed me again.
Just look at what Dan Lyles wrote. Everyone else will as well. And that. God. So I'm not reading that out. I'm not getting sued for that. Fuck that. Jesus Christ. Anyway, carry on.
Some nice aerial photography here, but yeah, I just think it's for something that clearly probably was thrown together, relatively last minute. I think it's just a nice film. There you go. Shut up. Go away. Shit. Yeah.
There is some shit going down in the chat that I'm just not going to read out. So, so there was a big resurgence of 90s disaster films in the 90s, and I think the kind of late 20th century disaster film trope really comes from Irwin Allen, and Irwin Allen did like the Towering Inferno and stuff like that. He was a producer that those big, I think possibly the Poseidon Adventure as well. All those big, those star-studded multi-cast movies where they had like Charlton Heston and Gene Hackman and stuff all together. Irwin Allen had that template. And when it came back in the 90s, I think it was one or two ways where you had this, where it's quite relatively intimate, but then like Independence Day, like that is absolutely an Irwin Allen style picture, right? It's the huge, expansive cast given a bit each to do. And so's Armageddon. It's that huge star-studded cast, kind of apocalypse or disaster spectacle, which is very that was a very late stage Hollywood thing that went away because those were viewed as the kind of excess of late stage Hollywood cinema before it, but kind of that straddled the crash really, and then they brought it back. So you had those, but then you had these. Because I kind of view this as being a little bit like, say, Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger's not a disaster film, but it has that kind of focus. It's about a thing, and then there's a small focus of people.
It's character-led. I wouldn't say it's character-driven, but I think it's character-led. And I think it's... Yeah, I'd go with that. I mean, I suppose the thing with the cliffhanger... With the cliff... I mean, in a way, it opens much like Cliffhanger does with a disaster that informs us about our protagonist, right? Although again, it's sort of a dual protagonist thing, really, because what I like, Linda Hamilton or Mayor Wando, which is a weird name, is not left out of proceedings. She does have her own agency, and she does, she's not reduced to being completely hapless or purely just all right. He's the expert, but. She's also the mayor. She's the mayor of the town.
Yeah, she holds a position of authority, like an important position of authority. And I do like that. It's the kind of, it's kind of the meeting of the, they're both kind of high in their field, because she's sort of essentially a high-level bureaucrat. She's, she's that, and then, or administrative, and then he's the scientist guy, and they. But
they're both. I think. They're sort of emotionally damaged as well because obviously he lost his previous, I guess, wife or whatever to
volcano went in her brain. Oh, whatever.
It replaced her brain with volcano.
Now she can only think about hot things all the time.
Which isn't me, apparently. Even
just Nando's. She takes me to Nando's. Sorry.
Nando's, we must go to Nando's, please. Anyway,
just lava coming out her nose,
like the brain slugs from Futurama. Anyway, and she's obviously a divorcee or divorcee or whatever the right thing is for that. And but she, I love the fact that she's she's the mayor, but she's also got her own little her shop that she's trying to run, and she makes terrible coffee, and she seems like a fish out of water. That's why I mean she's the kind of Chief Brody of it, like she doesn't look like she's from there, even though I guess she is, because her mother-in-law lives there. Well, I guess her mother-in-law lives there, so it's not. It is. She does like good
salt of the earth stuff, and I think showing her behind the counter of the coffee shop is important, and also that it's this speaks to the lack of roles for Linda Hamilton in movies, but when she spills the coffee in front of Pierce and mops it up. Who ordered the birdie beef? You just immediately think of that thing from Terminator, right? When When I see that, I just go straight back to that. For perhaps different reasons, but the kind of blue collar thing to it. And I think that's what we're talking about here as well. It's blue and white collar because she's a mayor, but she has a shit coffee shop, and he's the science guy. And
very good point. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, he's the academic in a way, even though he's a bit of an Indiana Jones, but he's the kind of academic, and she's the sort of white collar. Blue collar, do it all, gets her hands dirty. And has, she is obviously like, she's not only responsible for the town, but she's responsible for her kids. She has this like real, like, she has to be the grown up in every situation kind of thing. And that's, and again, it's odd that you draw that comparison to Sarah Connor, because obviously she's the mother of two kids in this. She's the savior of the town in a weird way. It's there are similar character traits there to the Sarah Connor character, and she seems much more like the Terminator.
The one who hasn't had the kind of life beaten out of her yet. The kind of happy. Because she's a little bit happy-go-lucky. She smiles, and she, and I really think she's a performer with such range, man. I really think Terminator fucking Dark Fate really drove that home for me. I just thought about the other timeline where there were more great Linda Hamilton performances. Imagine all the stuff she could have done. That being said, I'm sure she's comfortable and happy, and I really hope she took a great, lovely payday from the last Terminator movie. So I'm sure she's happy. But selfishly, I would like to see a world with more Linda Hamilton stuff in it.
I'd have liked, and I'd have liked to have seen it more kind of peak Hamilton, which I guess would have been the 90s, but not because I don't like her as an older lady at all, but just because I think she got a real stride going, I think, at that point. And I think she could have really conquered the world, but then actually, she left us with probably the best stuff, she could have, and there was no chance for backsliding, although obviously she's done some King Kong sequels that no one's seen, which is weird.
I've seen it.
Oh, you have seen it. But that's one of those things where it's like getting Jack Nicholson to come out and do fucking like anger management, and you're like, right, so you won't come out and do like Scorsese's latest film or whatever, but you'll come out and do that.
That's that kind of that old school of Hollywood. Robert Myers just gave $10. Did not ask a question or leave a comment. Thank you very, very much, Robert. If you do want to ask a question, You're very welcome.
Maybe that was his question. $10.
10 US. Yeah, we need currency with question marks on the end next time to know that it's a question. Oh, Jeffrey Turner, aka Mega Jetty 1, gives $2. Linda with her Terminator 1 hair again, my preferred look for her. She looked pretty hot with the poodle hair, I'm not gonna lie.
It's turned down in this. It's toned down. This is sort of
She couldn't be rocking out that because this is 13 years after the first Terminator as well. Crucially,
that's a gif, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is. What's he saying in that? Goes,
Grant Heslov goes. He's like coffee, cappuccino, maca.
I only know that because when I was messaging you yesterday, I nearly sent that into the chat. Yeah. I searched Dante's Peak gifs and I was like, none of these have Pierce, I want Pierce. Come on.
Come on, do it. I'm here. Come on.
Yeah, now why you cry, but it's something I can never do.
I tell you one thing that I always wanted to do, and I always like it in theory, like the idea of it in theory, is eating in scenes, and no one ever lets me. Brad let me chew gum. That was about it. But I very rarely get to eat anything in scenes. I think I've done it once or twice, and I was looking there, like Pierce is obviously eating his cornflakes or whatever at his bar, and I was like, because it gives you such a nice bit of business, like because otherwise you've just got to deliver lines. Like I need something to do with my hands. I always love the idea of eating something.
So I was just thinking of like you in Hallows Eve going to chew out those kids just with a big bowl of spaghetti, dressed as a policeman, just like
it just comes in from the side.
Oh, bi-coloured prawn just gave £2.
£2.
Thank you for the £2.
The question. That's the question.
See, so I gotta appreciate someone that puts their hand in their pocket just to make a joke. That feels I'm 100% behind that.
Big props, man. And I always wanted to, but then it's like, but if you do it, especially if you do it in a film like this, you have to do it about 1,000,000 times. We watched Hacksaw Ridge last night. And there's a bit with Hugo Weaving eating his dinner, and I just thought, how many fucking times did he have to eat that, and how many times did they have to reset it with like continuity with bite marks?
Well, and see also the strudel scene in Inglourious Bastards, right? Like that's all based around a dish. It's all about the food. And just a
very hard one to make look the same because obviously it's flaky and falls apart. Like,
and fresh cream under film lights. Delicious.
Yeah. Well, I did an Asda advert years ago. This will give you an idea.
I didn't know you did that Asda advert. I thought I was quite conversant with your career. I didn't know you did that Asda advert.
Yeah.
You're holding out on me, Casey.
But the scenario was that I was throwing a surprise birthday party for my girlfriend, and all their friends were there. But then there was supposed to be all this party food around everywhere, and I was bringing her a cake and everything, and they literally had to after about half an hour, they just had to wipe the whole lot out and put more, like completely reset it. We had a cake. Was it called a piñata cake, which is like a cake, I guess, with stuff in, and it falls out and you cut it open, but that had to just get thrown in the bit. There was so much wastage. Like all these adverts where there's food, it gets wasted like that because it just goes off like that. It's ridiculous. So, and people were trying to pick, all the extras were trying to pick at it, and it was like, stop it!
You're gonna die.
No, it's sort of because it's like you're at everyone. You forget. It feels like you're at a party. Because you're just standing in a house with loads of food everywhere, so you're like,
I know. Like when you do kind of profile shoots for brands and stuff, they bring in a food stylist. So as the kind of director or the creative director, you have to then liaise with the food stylist because when it's focused on the food, and there's all these, all the kind of crazy food stylist tricks they have, like they dip a tampon in water and microwave it, and then they put it behind things that are supposed to steam, and then like when they have milk, usually in cereal, it's PVA glue. Because it's just all this weird Frankenstein shit. Like they're just sort of creating anti-food in front of you, but you want to eat it more. It looks delicious.
Well, and also as a director or a DP or whatever, you don't want the responsibility of having to do that. That's the thing. This idea, food stylist sounds like a ridiculous job until you think about actually what you'd have to do.
It makes me feel better about how ridiculous my job sounds. It's kind of like, well, at least I'm not a food stylist. Did you have to slap your arse in the? This is asked by
what?
Doug Wanacott. Did you have to slap your arse in the Asda ad? Because that was the old thing, wasn't it?
Oh,
that's
no.
Asda price.
So that part those ads were part of a series where they had the store staff doing it at the end. So they would have the people who work in Asda in their uniforms doing it. So we didn't have to do it. We just did our little, because there were a few scenarios in one ad, so we were just part of that, and then it would end on the store. People are outside an Asda going, hey, and slapping their ass.
There you go. So interesting. So Sean Northridge, who has illustrated us many times, and Sean's like an amazing illustrator. He's been working on a comic called, or a graphic novel, I should say, called Red Creek for a really long time. And Sean talks about Red Creek a lot, and that's been on my radar for a while. And he's just said Wallace, Idaho, where this film is based, is the basis for the town Red Creek in the graphic novel he's working on.
Oh, very cool.
So there you go. There's a cool tie-up. Sean, you should have got in straight. You should have been straight in with that. I thought
bury the lead, mate.
Yeah, bury the lead, man. Jeez. I am Snorlax says, what year was the Asda ad? A connoisseur of Asda ads, I assume. Do Morrison's exist south of Birmingham? I'll have you know that Camborne, the kind of new town 10 miles from here, has a Morrison's. So there you go.
I think we have 2 Morrisons here, but let's not go nuts. Well, it would have been like 2015, I think, something like that. Don't quote me, but I think it was 2015. Yeah, it would have been 2015, I think.
Okay. Yes. Oh shit. Okay, that's sort of. Yeah, that's when I knew you. I didn't know you did as an act. I don't know why that's held a particular fascination for it. Didn't fucking tell me the Astra.
I try and remember. Like I don't really remember myself. I know I've done as the VW Electrolux.
Microsoft, of course.
Microsoft, of course. Yes.
SPDR,
like a investment firm thing in the States, which was insanely weird, but had DP from Danny Cohen, who does all of what's his name, Hooper's. So Tom
Hooper.
Tom Hooper stuff. Yeah. Anyway, loads of shit, man. Oh, the investment app thing I did an advert for, Gunwolf Keys. There are others. I can't remember.
Okay.
There's like fucking adverts. There's so many. But God bless them. You know, I've just done a self-tape today for another advert, and did one last week as well.
I miss doing your self-tapes. They're not technically self-tapes, but I miss doing your self-tapes. That was a nice little thing we used to do together. When I used to do your self-tapes.
I really appreciated it, man, because it was nice. You know, I could send in this lovely, like really nicely shot thing on a proper camera.
You're kind. It gives me something to do. Stops me from dehydrating from wanking.
Briefly.
We did one after that promo we shot, right? We spent the whole morning shooting a promo, then come did a fucking self-tape. Anyway, no one wants to hear that because that's boring real life stuff.
That's the thing that oh, by the way, that self-tape led on to them asking me to do another self-tape once we'd got into lockdown, and I don't know what is going on with that now, but that was a series that's shooting in Spain and Italy. So anyway, but there we are.
Oh.
Yeah, it's starring 2 Bond girls, but I will leave it at that for now because I don't know what's going on.
Casey for the new Bond.
Yeah.
Brian Shields just gave €10. No question, but keep up the great work. Love your work. # Dante's Peak Terminator link. Definitely Sarah Connor in the Witness Protection Program.
What?
Sarah Connor is in the Witness Protection Program, and then to hide her son, she had a daughter as well. So John Connor is there with her, and they've changed their names. And then there's a girl.
Why would she be in the Witness? Why would she be in the Witness Protection?
The Time Witness Protection Program. The Time cops from Star Trek Voyager came, and
Jean-Luc Picard. I mean.
Captain Janeway, not Captain Janeway. The time cops in Voyager hate Captain Janeway because she fucked everything.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is in this.
Oh, Sam Montgomery. I know it. £10. Another super chat. Thank you very much. I know I asked this ages back, but since we're on the 90s disaster flicks, is Godzilla 98 on the table for a watch party? Not Godzilla fan, but I find amusement how much of a train wreck it is. I would happily watch Godzilla 98. Personally, I'll throw this over to you, Duncan, in a moment. I would happily watch Godzilla 98 as a watch party. It's a terrible, terrible film. It has that weird, like most of the Simpsons cast are in Godzilla 98.
I knew Hank Azaria.
A bunch of them are. Hank Azaria's in there, and I've forgotten everyone's name. But yeah, no, there's this weird running gag that it's a terrible film. But I sort of think like we could just have a lull, just have some lulls watching that. Fucking hell, they're coming in thick and fast. Rory Woods, whose podcast I recently appeared, and you will soon. Mm-hmm. Really enjoying my first watch party, fellas. Dude, cheers, man. Thank you for giving us money. I got too drunk on Rory's podcast the other day. But there you go. I just got.
What did you talk about? Or can you not remember?
Oh no, we just chatted shit. It was great. We had a really funny. I remember at one point telling him about. We ended up talking for quite some time about viewing houses as students when you go into the second year. It was this insanely unstructured chat. It was really good fun, actually. Very, very silly. Very, very unstructured chat. It was good stuff.
Nice. My dad, God bless him, has just sent us £10 on PayPal.
Are you in,
Philip?
Great stuff, He's not chatting tonight.
Is he not?
No, I don't think so. If you have, Philip, I'm very sorry. I haven't seen you tonight in the chat.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
I must phone him. Soon, actually. I'm speaking to you in a few weeks, I think.
I've never... I didn't speak to your dad at your wedding. And that's the only opportunity I would have had to meet your dad. And Philip, bless you, was paying my bloody rent. And I've never met. When this is all over.
You've got cheap rent.
Yeah, that's right. £5 a month. Yeah. Cambridge rents have just bottomed out, man. Anybody's in the know will know that is not true.
No.
Oh, well.
James Atkinson says, "Is Olga Kurylenko in your advert, Duncan?" No.
Who's Olga Kurylenko?
Oh, okay. No, James. So the thing I self-taped for and then self-taped for again that stars 2 Bond girls is not an advert. It's a TV show. You may have got your wires crossed there, son. But no, it's not that. That's not what I'm talking. Anyway, never mind. No, she's not. And my friend Lee is in a film with her called The Courier, which is on Netflix now. Has just come out, and he's in it, but he also was a fight choreographer on it.
Is it about North Korea or South Korea?
No,
My friend Nick moved to South Korea to be a teacher, and when he said I'm moving to Korea, I said, "Did you speak to a careers advisor?" And it made me laugh, and that was 7 years ago.
And that's how that matters.
And I had my fun, and that's how it matters. Oh, look, Finton Stack listens to Jungle. That's all we need to know.
Yeah. So, do you think the romance in this feels a little bit forced?
It's funny, isn't it? Because it shouldn't. I think the tee up to the romance is great, but I just feel like it's a bit kind of desperate. I do love that moment though, because that must happen to you. You know, like when you're having your moment with your date, and then like someone you know drives past or walks past, or like just some idiot interrupts. Like it's
that
just
has happened once or twice.
Yeah, it's like some fucker ruins it, and then what you basically do is resume 2 minutes later, don't you? Really, but yeah, I like that. It's a cute little moment. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of does. It sort of does, and I don't know what's wrong. You know. I don't know what's wrong.
There's some dodgy dialogue coming up when they basically know they're gonna bone, and he's like, and his line. Look here, it's here. Look, he goes. It's like, you know what they say. It's like riding a bicycle. You never forget, or whatever. And it's like, did you just call her a village bicycle? Because basically,
did you call her a village bicycle? And was your main concern that she thought you'd forgotten how to have sex, or you thought she'd forgotten how to have sex, or you've both forgotten how to have sex? Also, she's a bike.
She says like, I'm afraid it's been. She goes, it's been a long time since I've been with anyone, and he's like, you know what they say, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why would that be what you say back to her? He's very, to be fair to him, if you hand Pierce some cheesy, shitty, crappy dialogue,
he's built for it.
He's the kind of actor that isn't going to turn around and go, "Fuck off, I'm not saying that." He'll just do it, and he'll do it amazingly well, considering what you've just handed him. Like, he can turn that shit into gold. He can spin that turd.
Yeah, dude, because he's one of these people. Like, he's like Brian Cox, like the proper Brian Cox, not the fake space one. That, like, you know, people say this derisively, but he's a professional. He knows what he's being paid for, and he'll do it. You know, he'll do the line and he'll do it well, like, and that kind of cheesy shit. Like, he's all about that. Like, absolutely. Yeah. And I get that with this film as well. Like, oh yeah, because this is it. Like, their boning is ruined by the dirty water, isn't it? It's like, it smells like sulfur or something. Have you been drinking volcanoes? Oh,
check your pee. She's like, what? Check it. Go now.
Quickly, you gotta go take a pee. Have a little jar. It's a pee jar for volcano pee.
It's like, volcanoes. Just sniffs it. And he can smell
you might say I put my penis in your vagina. Sorry, that's him in Bond mode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Da 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 da. So I Am Snorlax just reminded me of that thing that I do, so I just did it for him. I did it just for you. I Am Snorlax.
You might say.
You might say we're going to have sexual intercourse.
Say you might. What did he say? Oh, Tomorrow Never Dies. He goes, you might say he has an edifice complex or something. He says about the thingy.
You might say he wants to fuck his mum.
James Bond versus Sigmund Freud.
I think there's a lot to be said there, man. There's a lot to be said. I remember one of the teachers on my degree. She was doing a PhD in Bond movies because she was focusing on 60s cinema, and she had a PhD thesis. Sorry, not a PhD. Her PhD thesis was on the 60s Bond films.
Very good.
That's very
good choice.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure that's your. You know, you and her could have a good chat. I'm sure.
I could probably wax lyrical about that ad nauseum. I mean, my wife just glazes over, frankly.
Additional nauseum.
She's The good thing about me and my wife is that we don't share an awful lot in common when it comes to.
That's a good thing. You don't want. People think you. Oh, I just want to find the partnered version of me, or like whatever your bag is. Like, it's like you probably don't. Like, you need to fill in gaps. Also, literally, because that's willies and bums or fannies. But you need to. It's the yin yang thing. You got to fill each other's gaps. I'm the mayor, and also the news, and also the coffee, and my pee smells of sulphur. Get out of town. I'm Linda Hamilton. Bye.
I just peed a volcano. Get out of town. This hot stream
just
of lava.
1 hour ago,
which is probably what
I urinated
it would have
magma.
felt like after sex.
She should have had some cranberry juice.
Yes, it's basically an allegory for cystitis.
A film in which a town discovers that there's going to be a volcano because of one woman's cystitis.
Welcome to Val Verde.
Oh,
You might say no. You might just.
So I love watching these with the sound off because we have to, because otherwise I'll be broadcasting copyrighted audio. And I want to dub the policeman on his radio going, "Okay, volcano, we're on to you. Get out of here."
This volcano pulling itself up and running off.
But the volcano still erupts, but wearing a domino mask and a stripy jumper
and a swag bag over his shoulder for some reason.
It's going to steal all the coffee from the coffee town. Yeah. That very much looks like I was joking about her son being John Connor, but it's like if you ordered John Connor off wish.com, that's what would turn up.
It really is. He's got the haircut. It really does. Look at him. Joanne. I swear she adds a lot of syllables to vowels. You know, like Joanne.
She'd just be incomprehensible. It's like some fifth dimensional being.
Well, it's kind of like the Norfolk accent, or especially the Norwich one is like town. Also, like you get down the town.
Yeah, going down the town.
Look at how many people are in
that's
shot.
Insane.
Those are people. That's not CGI. They just make, and that's a misnomer as well. When people go, "Oh, you can just remake them in the computer." It's like, no, you can't.
I mean, you can now.
No, but what you still have to get a lot of people together and then replicate it.
Oh yeah, but and even that's a lot of fucking work. Like someone has to go through. It's something they did very, very well. And again, lovely cinematography there, that kind of loop round shot, because it goes from the shot of the town and then round the jog. The Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead film, which is a film for every reason I should hate, but actually really like. They did really good crowd replication because it's just you have 100 extras.
Here's your Jurassic Park reference. Sorry, but the close up of the thing shaking. Did you see that? Yeah. Or you waxing lyrical about...
Oh, you might say volcanoes are a bit like dinosaurs.
Go on, what were you saying? Zombie.
Well, no, that's the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead. Yes. They very effectively, they had 100 extras outside the mall location with a green screen, and then they cut and pasted that 20 times, and suddenly it's 2,000 extras. You know, it's too... Yeah.
I mean, it can be used effectively. Like, it can be used really effectively, that. I think.
Oh no! Did you hear? I saw some fucking clickbaity article the other day about how there's some kind of dormant volcano proximate to London. Have you seen that?
No.
It's bollocks. It's a clickbait thing on fucking Facebook, which lockdown has made me click on a bunch of them, so they are all up in my algorithm. But anyway.
Are you an anti-vaxxer now or something?
Totally. I've gone straight up 5G conspiracy, flat Earth, anti-vax, because I've been clicking on top 10 lists. You think you're reading about like top 10 kind things Keanu Reeves has done, but the 10th one is always about vaccines or the flat Earth. Ivan
comes in, like knocks on your window, or knocks on your door in the morning, like hello, like opens the door and he's like and you're turning around and there's a tin foil Darth Vader hat coming down on your head. They put tracking in my fillings. Fluoride is
because I read clickbait.
Yeah, look at that shot of that tower like falling into stuff like that's.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. That's really great. Like uncharitably, it'd be a little polystyrene, and there's loads of like styrofoam rocks and stuff. But this is one of those movies where when it kicks off, and again, there's loads of really great cinematography in this. I think in terms of the kind of tracking shots and stuff, and certainly it has long-ish takes. I'm not going to call them long takes. It has long-ish takes that are really nice, repeatedly.
I will say this though, that it manages to hide its lack of plot from it. So these films are all about their sort of build up, right? It's that I won't say it's the first act, but it's predominantly first act, right? Which is this thing of like, it's all about that, oh my god, the thing's coming.
Lots of people saying the thing's not going to happen, and then the thing of course naturally happens.
Well, it's that, but I think what's attractive about it is all the people standing around in a room, you know, catastrophizing and talking about the thing, and it could be a thing, and it's all the build up in your mind, and then when the thing comes, all you're really watching is people run away from the thing. So in this, when the thing comes, people drive up a mountain and drive back down again. That's basically the story.
Yes.
Well, it is. I mean, all they do is drive up, get the kids, and come back. Well, but you know,
that's the Irwin Allen thing in it. You know, it doesn't have that kind of insane cast like an Irwin Allen movie, but what it does have is people standing around for the first half of the film saying, don't worry, the thing cannot happen. And half the cast going, yes, it can. And then it does. And then half the cast that said it wouldn't happen say, I'm sorry, let's run away from the thing that's happening. And the other half of the cast saying, I told you so. And then two of them survive.
That must be... Do you think that's Matt's? That's CGI.
Oh, the CGI. They did that really ropey shot a minute ago where she's looking at the volcano and it's supposed to be her face reflected in the glass, and it's very much just that sort of overlay.
Frame rates all over the place. Yeah, but that stuff's quite good. With all the cars falling, the freeway falling apart. Look, the building falling down. That looks good. That's all. Yeah, rubble.
There's some kind of like ropey, because they're doing kind of day for night stuff here as well. So there's kind of like wonky blue field.
I don't think it's supposed to be nighttime.
No, it's sorry, not day for night, but that style of thing where it's kind of dusk. Right. So they've gone for that kind of blue filter. And it's clearly not that late. But look at that. That's amazing. That's really good. And I remember, I very much enjoyed this when it came out. It's one of these things I rented. I mean, I enjoyed all kinds of ropey shit when it came out. But this was like down the rental store, go get Dante's Peak. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then it'd be cheaper and you get it again. You know.
It didn't. I don't know what it did box office wise. It obviously didn't set the world alight, and I know it came on the heels of certain things, but it also came ahead of other things. It came out the same year as Volcano, I think. I'm going to check, but
oh no, it did, because it was very much the Deep Impact Armageddon thing. It was the twin movies again.
Yes,
very much so. And I remember this because I don't know about. I think we're probably on the same page here, but I was very much a cinema kid. You know, I was spending my pay round money every Saturday at the movies in the 90s. So I just went and saw like everything. Because it was like I would get. I won't get to nitty gritty, but I'd get when I was pay round Kingpin, and I had 3. So mornings, evenings, and Saturdays. On Sundays, I'd get like £23 a week. So I didn't get pocket money, so I was making it 23. And £23 a week in 1997, like I was fucking balling, you know what I mean? Like, I was rolling deep. Like, and the movie was £4 then, or £3. So I just go see everything. I didn't see this, but I remember seeing the trailers, the teasers, which is a lost art. The teasers for Volcano with they were really vague, and I think it had the thing where like the street cracks between Tommy Lee Jones's legs or something. Do you remember?
Yeah.
But I never actually watched Volcano.
Volcano's okay. I have it, I think.
You have it? Fuck, okay.
Yeah, I think I have it on DVD. It's all right. It's not. It's. I prefer this, but I think it's. Again, it's overly emotional. It ends in a ridiculous way. It's one of those films that obviously cost a lot of money, but you sort of go, where was the money spent? Because it's all just LA. It's all set in the same place. Nothing really happens. I feel like it's a big payday for Tommy Lee Jones, which is fine, but. You know, this just has much more kind of I don't know. This just feels more like a kind of a piece. It feels like a.
Well, that's the misleading thing, I suppose, of Volcano. Because again, I never watched Volcano, but like that was all kind of like, oh no, because this is in a small town, but that was in LA, and that's exciting and it's epic and whatever. But from what you've said, I guess not, and I can totally
it's not.
believe
And
that.
it has some. I accept totally that this is in hindsight, but it has some sort of fairly shonky 9/11 imagery, because there's lots of like triages set up in the street and stuff like that feel a bit. Obviously they couldn't know, but it feels kind of like a bit. It just feels. There are some films that I think in fairly short order because of when they came out and when 9/11 happened, felt all of a sudden very naive and stupid. And that's one of them. That's one of those things where it's like a catastrophic thing happens in downtown LA or in a city, and it's like, and here's how we deal with it, because that'll never happen, right, guys? And it's like, and then it happened, and it's like, this is already out of date. Because
a lot of things suddenly became a bit too near the knuckle and whatever. Frank Allen's back. Frank, you were here, and I thought you left, and I gave you a shout out, and I think you missed a shout out. But we love you, Frank. Frank gifted me and Ivan a copy of Payday 2, and we're going to do a really embarrassing, disastrous Let's Play, and I can't wait.
Nice. I'm just going to let the cat out because he's been in here and he's once out. So.
Oh, you're on Jackson time now. How's it going? You tune into Jackson FM. He's going to let the cat out.
I'm not. I'm just going over here.
Oh, fuck that. Look, he promised me. He's still got his headphones on, the turncoat. He promised me he said to me, Richard, I'm going to let the cat out. You're going to have...
Hello.
Aslan! Oh, I miss Duncan's pets. I miss Duncan and Holly too, but I miss their pets. I miss Winston. I miss him. Idol.
I tell you what, you can fucking have them, little pricks.
Little pricks.
Winston's lovely, but Aslan's cantankerous.
Frank says, sorry, mate, I went for a wank.
That was a long.
That's a long wank. Yeah, fair play, mate. Well, you got, it's fine champagne, isn't it?
Took his time,
slow wank. Frank, we talked about Livewire for ages, and I was just saying, Frank showed me Livewire, and Livewire is amazing. And I don't think you're in for that, man. But we talked about Livewire, and Duncan revealed there's a sequel to Death Train, which blew my fucking mind. Blew my mind.
With Pierce Brosnan as Guy Fawkes,
as Anonymous.
Yes.
Anonymous.
I think I might treat myself to a wee dram from this.
Fill your boots, mate.
12-year-old. This is. I only got it today. I've got a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old.
I'm on the Glens. I'm getting counsel.
I've got my little fiefdom here set up on my desk.
Little drunk fiefdom.
I do.
So I feel that the main metaphor of this film is that sometimes people go up in helicopters with red lights on them, and that's the government.
Well, these are, I guess, if you again with the Jaws analogy, these are the fishermen who went out to try and catch the shark, right? He's just doing it for the money. Again, it's a very, very quick cautionary tale, but the helicopter pilot.
And now for a very quick cautionary tale.
And now for a message from our sponsor.
I feel like I could do like a sort of 90s Channel 4 series called Very Quick Cautionary Tales. Yeah. Don't shoplift, you go to jail! Boo! that kind of thing.
Yeah, cautionary tale from what was? Oh no, I won't do that. That's tasteless, isn't it? Who was the basketball player who died in a car crash?
Oh God, Kobe. It was Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant. Yeah, God.
Everybody, ready your hashtag too soons. Luckily, I don't care about basketball, so I have his daughter died as well. Actually, it's pretty sad.
It's awful. I remember that
he said boring a drink.
Yes. No, bless him. I did an advert years ago for Jaguar. There you go, another one. Although I wasn't the face of it, but Jaguar, and I had to go up in a helicopter and fly after the car down a runway, which was fun with the door open and everything. And it was, as I've said before, the exact helicopter that Blofeld's in at the end of Spectre. But there we are. That's another thing. That was the very night that helicopter crashed into a pub in Glasgow. Was it Glasgow? I think it was Glasgow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds right.
So whenever a helicopter crashes, I always think back to that and I go like, God, there, but for the grace of God. You know what I mean?
I watched this. I watched it. There's like a TV movie about Donald Trump, like about Donald Trump's life.
Of course there is, because it's the best.
And it was made off the back of the success of The Apprentice. It wasn't made because of his presidential shit. It was because The Apprentice did quite well. And the button on the film, the end of the film, is like, "How would you like to do a TV show called The Apprentice?" And it ends. And they detail how he was,
because that was going to be the apex.
Well, right, like exactly. Well, we wish it was, because he was very nearly in a helicopter crash. Did you know that? Like one of his close advisors was wiped out, and like a couple of people very close to him were killed in a helicopter crash, and he was meant to be on that helicopter. And in typical Trump style, Like when they asked him about it, he kind of went, "It was so sad. I could have died. I nearly died, but I didn't die because I didn't get on it." And he just talked about how he nearly died and he didn't, and did not really address how his close friends are now dead.
How uncharacteristic.
I know, right? It's quite, yeah. Nothing like him at all, is it? Christ.
Well, it's like Nigel Farage survived that plane crash. The
glider crash, yeah. I mean,
you know, so I don't want to make any comment about Nigel Farage, but like the fact that it's pretty horrific. You see, there's that picture of him like crawling out of the wreckage. Like it's horrible. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, and that's an example of of that. It's like that's awful. I wouldn't. It's horrible. Like and it looks like one of those things you take. Yeah. I'm
not saying anything verbally, but also.
No, but come on. I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through that. And it's all right. Fine.
My opinions are my own. My opinions are my own. You're a
good person.
My opinions. My opinions are my own.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I mean that's because I guess that's because it was just something that would have got captured because he was doing it for a publicity stunt.
Yeah, there were cameras there, like that was the thing that was happening, and sure, that was intended to be.
Yeah. As it is if anyone's in a plane crash. Yeah. Anyway, shut up. Critter Print, sorry, sends us £5.
Says, thank you very much.
Hi Duncan, I've been following. It's just to me. It's not to you. Shut up. Shut up. Stop it. I've been following you guys since someone's channel without leaving much of a footprint. I thought I'd start engaging as I've had many happy hours. Cheers, lads. Thank you, mate. That's very kind of you. That's very
that's
kind.
Lovely. That's very sweet.
Lovely message. Thank you. Appreciate that. We do appreciate that because I think we don't. It's hard to gauge kind of.
Well, there's a silent majority. Hey, look. Hold on. I'm going to do a quick tally because there are every week when we do these, there are people that are always here. And when I do like a gaming stream, there's people that are always there, and it's like amazing. There's like a super diehard of people that always come, and that's like amazing. Like the fucking people turn up to listen to us talk shit, even if it's 10 people, like whatever. It's incredible. So right now we've got a bunch of names, bunch of people we see all the time, right? And that's fucking awesome. But I always find it really interesting that that's the minority of people that are in the room. And I've said this before, kind of like if you want to. Pipe up, man. And some people, I guess you can watch this without an account. I don't know. If you want to pipe up, you want to ask us anything, pipe up. But not everybody goes in on the chat. I'd say I can do it. It doesn't give you. Look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So according to this, there are 19 people participating in the chat, but there's 148 people watching. And that's always the case, because like that's always the case, and it's the same in terms of comments on videos as well. It's the same thing. Like not everybody comments, but people watch. There's
your hell imagery, right? In fact, this was the thing, right? This was the thing, and I'm about to say this was the thing when actually it was just a thing in 2 movies that came out in '97.
I mean, it's called Dante's Peak.
Well, yeah, but the hell imagery was fire and flashing lights. So Event Horizon does exactly that as well, right? So there's everything's on fire and there's like just strobe lighting going off all the time, and it's the same sort of motif there, isn't it? It's the sort of just suddenly everything's on fire and there's flashing lights everywhere.
It's something that movies do. Yeah, movies do that a lot. The hell thing. I really liked in John Wick 2. Have you seen John Wick 2?
I have, yeah, I've seen all of them, yeah.
John Wick 2, like, particularly deals with literal and figurative underworlds. And it's always about going down and then emerging again. And it doesn't, I'm not saying one's better or worse, but it doesn't particularly use fire and flames as a motif. But it's descent and emergence over and over and over again. And obviously it's all about the underworld, but there are literal and figurative underworlds. So much is going on metros and trains and things. You know?
Yes.
I really like that. It's a really nicely done. And I think in the art gallery scenes and that they really go in on that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and the third one sort of deals with, I think, falling, because especially. Well, have you seen the third one?
I haven't yet. I know. I missed out. I need to watch that. It's on streaming. I should have watched it. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, it was on Netflix or Prime. Is it still? I don't know if it's still. It was one of those ones that was like suddenly a recent film was just suddenly splurged onto Netflix, and you were like, "This is going to be here for like 3 weeks, and it's going to be gone."
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
Yeah, see all this because this goes on in the lightning stuff, and this is the acid granny scene. But That kid is a great Linda Hamilton kid.
She really is, yeah. And I bet you, like, you look at her and you go, like, oh, why didn't they get her for, like, Terminator Dark Fate or whatever? But then you go, like, probably, I bet now she looks nothing like her.
Yeah, exactly. She's, like, dyed her hair blonde or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, because this kind of stuff here, for some reason, I find this really memorable. I don't know why. Maybe it's just kind of where the stakes really peak, you know, where they have to sort of go on the boat, and then the granny sacrifice, which is a great metaphor for COVID.
I suppose it is. The thing with that boat though is it's a I know the prop gives out because he doesn't eat, like, he stops going and then he looks at it and the prop's been eaten away by the acid, but it's like it's a water cooled outboard motor, so it's sucking water up to cool it.
Sucking acid into it.
Yeah, so it's sucking acid, so it would have just totally blown up ages ago before the prop gave out.
Yeah, you know, acid river, shut up. I'm okay.
I'm on a backlot somewhere. Shut up. Get in the water, Granny. Fuck you. You're older. You'll die sooner. I want to die another day.
Yay! Hey!
Because the world is not enough.
If we were in the room, I'd give you £5, and then I'd give you another £5.
I'm not getting in there because tomorrow never dies, and if I do, I might catch GoldenEye.
Can't catch GoldenEye. Do you have any antibiotics? Because I've got GoldenEye.
Because I've got GoldenEye.
It's like pink eye for rich people.
If a rich man farts on your pillow, you'll get.
If Richard Branson farts on your pillow, but then you can sell your eye, which ironically is any way to buy a cure.
Sort of like the Tooth Fairy, but horrifically weird and ill thought through.
Selling your golden eye because of Jeff Bezos farted on your pillow.
Jeff Bezos gets away with a lot of stuff because it's like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, obviously the late Steve Jobs, and Bill Gates. But it's like Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the universe.
He keeps his mouth shut.
Yeah,
he keeps his mouth shut. He doesn't do press and stuff.
My granny fanny.
My granny fanny. I Am Snorlax says the young girl turned out to have a great career. Her IMDb page is huge. Well, there you go.
Oh, nice. Oh, cool. Good on her. Good for her.
Ian is Frank missed out on the Last Action Skellingtons thing, which Ian is explaining to him. Frank, I can't remember which video that's in. If Vote Saxon's still here, he'll tell you. But
she has as well. I'm just looking at her. She's an attractive lady. She's younger than me, which is irritating. But there we go. No, good on her.
Irritating. Fucking
well
bitch.
Done, Laszlo Panaflex. No, Jamie Renee Smith.
Oh, God. Ryan Ricardo astutely says, R.I.P. Acid Granny.
Oh.
Yeah, Steve Allen, Elon Musk sounds like a Bond villain, because Elon Musk thinks he's Tony Stark, but he's definitely kind of a Wish.com Lex Luthor. I'm sorry.
He's more Hank Scorpio, I think.
But Hank Scorpio was competent and actually made things.
Oh, I was just looking through her IMDb, and she did quite a bit before Dante's Peak as well. But I thought she was in Midnight Run for 5 seconds until I realised it says Midnight Man.
The sequel to Midnight? No, it's not at all. No, it's absolutely.
We've got to do Midnight Run as well. We must do. I rewatched it again.
We'll do it next week. Also,
yeah.
We need to do a Patreon.
Yes.
Watch party. Next week will be the Patreon watch party, so we'll notify you. But we need to talk. Duncan and I will talk behind the scenes about what that's going to be. But yeah, Patreon watch party. What's her name? The Dante's Peak girl.
Hang on.
Sarah.
Jamie Renee Smith. She's third billed in this film as well. Good for her. Let's see what Jeremy Foley is up to, who plays Graham Wando.
Okay, she looks nothing like Linda Hamilton, but she's done a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. The boy has done less than me.
Wow.
and he's older.
I've got a girlfriend. Kidding. I've got a wife.
I've got a wife. I'm kidding. I'm joking. The thing you find with a lot of like kid stars and stuff is that they just didn't want to do any shit. Like it's probably what their parents were making them do.
Oh, dude, there's so many of them are just not into it. So clearly not into it, being made to do it. Like
it's like Newt, the woman. She's like
Carrie Ann.
Yeah, and she works in she goes to the cons and stuff, but she just works in finance or something.
She's totally got a normal job, and then now cons are a thing. And fair play to her, she could just go out and much money at a con. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Oh, bless her, because she was an American girl going to an American high school in England, and she was so young, she clearly massively picked up an English accent, and then when they auditioned her and put her in that film, it's like, you're the most American one we've spoken to, and yet you still, because her accent slips quite a bit in Aliens. Bless her. She did a better job than I had done. But it's like, you're the most American person we found, and you're not even that American, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry that acid went up my granny fanny, but this is how I die. I sucked it all up so you could survive. It dried up the lake. Bye.
She just jumps in and goes.
And suddenly they're at the bottom of a dry lake.
Yeah, it's like the boat just goes clang. I guess we're okay now.
You might say she sucked the acid up her fanny.
You might say she had a acid hysterectomy.
Yeah. Oh, I love the idea of him getting cut off when it's not working. Halfway through.
like the hook on the comics on the stage.
Yes, the crook thing. I had my fun, and that's all that matters.
5 people in the room.
5 people in the room. 145 people in the room. God bless every one of you. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Do you know what, Jamie? I'm going through all Jamie Renee Smith's headshots at the moment, but she could totally be a modern day Sarah Connor. Although she's a bit more. She's got a bit more. Maybe she's got a bit too much sass. I don't know. She's cool.
Who?
I like Jamie Renee Smith, the little girl.
The little girl in this. Okay.
All grown up.
Well, Lena Headey did a. I've seen bits of the Sarah Connor thing, and she did a really good job, man.
She did. She's great. She's great though. I love Lena Headey. Lena Headey's got one of those. She's definitely a double threat, if not a triple. She's one of those obviously can look incredibly gorgeous and wonderful, but also can look like Mama or whatever.
Oh god, she does great. She gives great sociopath, doesn't she? I think.
She's just really good at she's someone who doesn't appear to give a shit about what she looks like, which makes her all the more kind of attractive a person to watch. And
the dread thing, she went in for that because she wasn't what they wanted, an old lady, and she went in for it, and they ended up changing it for her, and she's great. She's cool. And this again, speaking as someone who doesn't watch Game of Thrones, which is what everyone wanks off about, but she's great. She's really good. And she, as someone to replace Sarah Connor, because I don't think what's her name from Terminator Genesis, also from Game of Thrones, I don't lay any of that at her feet. But, that was just played as I'm Sarah Connor, I'm good at fighting, and that was her whole sort of arc in Terminator Genesis. But Stan Wilkes, I haven't seen this, so I can't say anything, but what to say? God bless and have an awesome night, Duncan and Richard. Stan Wilkes interviewed us both. God bless you. Cheers, Stan. Good to hear from you, man. Yeah. Stan Wilkes, who has a radio presenter's voice. He has dulcet tones, that young man.
Not to be confused with Stan Welks, who sells Welks by the sea.
That's normative determinism in action, isn't it? The family name Welks. Yeah, we just sell Welks.
No, Stan. I had a lovely time doing an interview with Stan, and you can check that out. That's on his channel, so go check him out. He's a really cool guy, and he started up his own movie podcast, I think. He
has. Yeah. Stan Wilkes is going to go places, man. I can tell. He's just one of those kids that's going to go places. He's going to not end up like this. Steve Allen said, did Richard say he liked Game of Thrones? No. He said the opposite, just a moment ago. Really, do not get confused.
That is so your GoldenEye watch party, isn't it? That's what people are going to give you grief for the end of time. Do you like Game of Thrones?
I'm very proud. Did you like Game of Thrones, Adrian? I'm gonna. I need to extract more. Frank, the Skellington thing is a thing that I will extract as a watch party highlight. That's how you get people on your watch parties, man. You watch party highlights.
Quick thing. Wilhelm scream here happens.
Is there actually? Oh wow!
As Hallahan goes over the as thing man,
and then Pierce tries to revive him with some defibrillator. No, it's not.
No,
that's not.
Wow! there, look, that's where he goes over there. Yeah,
Man.
good, great miniatures and stuff though. You know what I mean, like water and all that. It's a great representation of all the things, I guess, that go on that happen in a volcano.
I guess or whatever.
I guess or something or whatever. But it's still.
Hey, that looks great. That looks great. Like there's all that stuff. I mean that there as well. That's just a fucking the water churning and everything. It's really sharply photographed. I think it's really nice.
These are all hard things to capture as well because they're not things that happen necessarily naturally in nature. So it's like you've got to make obviously fake lava and everything. This is one thing I don't know how they did because they drive the car over it and obviously the crust breaks on the lava and the wheels start to catch fire and you sort of go like, what? How did they do that? A short of driving over actual lava. I don't know how you pull that off.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and this is so much of it's in camera. It's one of these. This is an odd halfway house, though, isn't it? Because there are bits earlier of like this kind of CGI scene that looks a bit shit, but then there are a bunch of kind of in camera bits and stuff like that. Because this part, like,
look at that. Like,
yeah, that's great. Because that's what you know. What you don't appreciate. I love that as well. Where the tire goes up.
Yeah.
You don't appreciate how much frame you've got to fill until you look down a lens.
Yeah.
Like, because you can do really good. I've done kind of crowd shots and stuff where I just get people to, just crowd in with their shoulders, and it creates that illusion. But it's really hard to fill a frame, and on a full frame system or an anamorphic, fuck off. Like it's really difficult. Yeah. Cade Fisher just gave $5 which is American for US dollars. Hi guys, only joining the stream due to my graveyard shift. What do you guys consider the worst Bond film? Thanks for the content during these times. I hover so close to the middle, don't I, on Bond stuff? I don't really have an opinion.
Well, I assume you haven't seen them all anyway, so to know.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Yeah, I can't give an opinion on that. I can't, but I'm sure Duncan. Do you have like a hard and fast like? Sorry, John Doe says 404. Go on.
We both saw that. John Doe writes 404 granny not found. That's brilliant. That's made my night. John.
Yeah, I want to give you a super chat, John Doe. That's
definitely. 404 granny not found. Granny not found.
Would you like
and of course,
granny
the dog
milk?
survives. The dog survives. Worst Bond film. I mean. So look, okay. I would say for me that it flits between three. It would probably be between Diamonds Are Forever. These are just the films that I.
And is this Eon Bond? Which about Eon?
This is Eon Bond.
Yeah,
so
proper
I'm
Bond.
assuming so. The others are negligible. There's only two others anyway. Really. Well, three, I suppose, if you include. Anyway, Diamonds Are Forever is one I really can't get on board with. I just can't work with that. View to a Kill, I'm not a big fan of, but that's more just a sort of wallpaper pasty type film. At least it's got Christopher Walken in it, and I love Roger Moore obviously, but it just isn't great. And then On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I'm sorry, it just is not. I'm just not.
And that's you often give that exactly. You tend to give that as that's the contrarian Bond film, isn't it? Just
Charles Wright is my favourite Bond. It's like, is he? Which of the others have you seen? None. It's like, well.
Oh well, that's why it's my favourite. But
I mean, it's the contrarian.
I think I may have technically seen all of the Bonds, but like there were things as like a kid, like people told you should. It was on the playground. Did you see when he blew up the guy with the elephant gun and stuff? But like in terms of actually. Watching them and paying attention, and I watched a bunch of them when I was a kid. But it's like when I was little, I really liked the Roger Moore ones. Pardon me, sorry, belching.
Yeah. I mean, the Roger Moore ones are fantastic. I mean, like I say, that there's a time for. What's great about them as a series is there's a Bond for everyone, right? There's a kind of, and I suppose what makes them the most egregious is when they don't. They're just a bit nothing. They're a bit. I mean, I suppose Die Another Day could be accused of that. It's just a bit sort of. Fisher Price Bond, isn't it? It's a bit kind of like, this is it's going through the motions, but it's not really bothered. I don't agree. I actually think Die Another Day has some really nice stuff in it. It's just got too many. It just sort of makes too many left or right turns. It's that thing of like, oh, you went 1 degree too far, and now you've blown it. But Die Another Day's got some great points. I just think Diamonds Are Forever is just something I can't get on board. The whole thing about like you've just killed James Bond is like, is that who that was? It's like, oh fuck off. Like who know? Like that's why you have Austin Powers, you twat. You deserve that,
right?
Because you know what I mean. International man of mystery. It's like because everyone knows who James Bond is. It's like. Or at least knows him by reputation, which is not what a super spy.
That's not spying. That's not spying. No.
And everyone lays that at Roger Moore's feet, and it's like that never happened in a Roger Moore film. Like very rarely. I think he walks into the odd place and goes, "My usual something, please." But it's like, but no one's like, "Oh, Mr. Pond, the famous spy." It's like that doesn't happen.
Would you like your famous spy drink? Yes, I would.
Yes, yeah. I've got your picture on the wall over there. Like, great. Yeah, no, it's just ugh. This stuff's great. It's all miniature work, I'm assuming, or the sort of blowing up town and
I guess so. It's that era of kind of I do often think I've said this before in various guises, like peak in camera, hands off to peak CGI very nicely with Terminator and Jurassic Park. And then these kind of this up to 97-ish is like that kind of messy, even later to 99, that kind of messy handover where people weren't quite sure what they wanted. So like this film in particular has some ropey CGI stuff, but then still has that peak miniature, like amazing pyrotechnics and model building and stuff. As well.
Independence Day is often considered the kind of apex of miniatures because it still holds the record for the largest number of miniatures used in the film, even though it employs lots of CGI techniques. But then I think what a lot of people confuse is the fact that they'll go like, no, it's just CGI, and it's like, yes, but CGI still involves like you don't just create everything in the computer. You'll still get a miniature, film it, and then comp it into something, including like dust element, particle elements, all that sort of stuff. So it's not. They very rarely CGI isn't just CGI. It's usually that they will film models and they'll do like Terminator Salvation. There's a great example. When that the HK goes past and you get that aerial shot, and the fact that it goes past the building makes it collapse because it's that weak, right? Yeah. And it's like that was a miniature, but it was when I say miniature, it's like to get the scale, you still have to build something that is probably about 3 stories high.
Oh yeah, well you see those those BTS shots of like.
Yeah.
Let's just say a 5'10" geezer walking through a bunch of chest high models. And it's like, that's a fucking warehouse full of shit. Like miniature. Because they like they're like if you build a building, it's like 1/8 scale or something. Like, some insane. Because it's one thing that like Blade Runner 2049 had a bunch of miniatures in it. But it also had a bunch of CGI, but the two things were handed off very nicely. The two things were augmented very nicely, and that's what you want. You don't want one or the other. It's both. It's the combination of the two things that works best.
Absolutely.
So volcanoes.
Anyway, what do we do? Where are we? Who are you? Which one are you again?
What's going on? Where am I?
I basically just want to fuck your mum.
I remember this bit in the cinema because he goes back.
That's the plot to Mamma Mia.
He goes back to the car, and then the rocks fall on it, and it breaks his arm, doesn't it? And you see his bone sticking through the. I remember that bit. It's gross. It's malgrass. But this shares a sort of ending with Starship Troopers in a weird way, which is that they all come walking out of the hole, and everyone's happy, and then it's the end.
Well, that's that brings us around because I referenced Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
and the photography of this film earlier, because it's that kind of narrow aperture, everything's in focus, crowd scene type thing, the Leni Riefenstahl, mode of doing things.
I do think this is where it starts to feel a bit like, you just outran the volcanoes, so now what? It's like we need a proper button on this film, and we don't necessarily get it. I mean, obviously we know they survive, but. And if this was a Michael Bay film, you'd then cut to them in the Caribbean doing the fishing that he talks about. Because he talks about them catching a fish, and it's like, it's that's what you'd have to see.
Because there is just there's about 15 minutes left, and that includes credits, and it does sort of run out of steam a bit. 'Cause it's sort of like they've quite a lot of screenplays. Third act problems is a thing. Like third act problems is a thing. That's nothing new. I'm not bringing anything new to the table by saying that, but third act problems is a thing. And it's kind of, there is a bit of kind of like, well, we've just run away from a volcano. Now what?
Yeah.
And it's sort of
collapsing tunnel. Oh no.
Yeah, like, oh no, they're going to find a giant cork and put it in the top once they escape. It's just,
Yeah.
Twist is a bit like that as well. It's because like, how do you put a button on a film that's about uncontrollable, untamable nature like that? It's sort of like, we found the cure to twisters. It's like, well, no. But I suppose like Bill Paxton gets to shoot up Helen Hunt again. That's that's the button on which we've decided to end Twister, I suppose.
Yeah, that is his broken arm.
Oh no!
Oddly, I struggle a lot with broken arm.
Well, yeah, and legs presumably.
I just watched The Prestige at the weekend, which is a great movie. But when he tricks Angiers into falling down the hole and he breaks his leg, I was not ready for that. I just didn't.
No,
that made me just go.
Yeah.
Blah.
Yeah.
And Superchat. Obscure Entertainment has signed Superchat. What do you think is the best non-Bond film from each Bond actor? Timothy Dalton, Hot Fuzz.
Start with Sean Connery. So Sean Connery, what's his best?
Sean Connery, Zardoz. I love Zardoz.
Fuck off.
Fuck you. Zardoz is awesome. Fuck you.
Right.
Zardoz rocks. You can choose what you like.
Right.
You'll have a proper answer. But,
I mean, there's the Untouchables. There's all that. So I think.
Okay.
I would agree. I don't think that is his best non-Bond film. There's a lot of. I mean, I enjoy The Rock. I won't say that's a great film, but I enjoy it. Last Crusade is fun.
Oh, Last Crusade, yes, of course, yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Lazenby's other non-Bond film. I don't think anyone. Roger Moore, Cannibal Run or something. I don't know. Oh no, the man. Was it the man who? Was it the man with two faces or the man?
Oh yeah, I love that movie. That's such a weird film. Yeah, where he's like the businessman.
Yeah, he's fucking good in it.
He's really good in that. It's that kind of odd. That I'm going to be careful what I say, but as a kind of like low-key 70s version of an American Psycho type narrative, it's pretty similar, right? Like it's in that mode of representation. It's a different film completely and a different story completely, but it has that kind of thing.
Spiritually.
Like, is it the man? What is that called? Like, is it the man with two faces or something?
It's something like that. I'll look it up. So then what? Timothy Dalton's Hot Fuzz we're going with, I'm guessing.
Well, that's for me. That's for me. You can do what you like.
I'd agree with that. I could go with that. I
so
like him in
wonderfully vampy in Hot Fuzz. I'll say it again and again.
Definitely. I like him in I think it's like Flash Gordon and stuff like that. But
of course, yeah, where he plays Errol Flynn. In
yes.
Flash Gordon.
But that's so him though, isn't it? He's very theatre and run here,
theatrical,
stop deliberate action all the time, but which is fine. But anyway, Roger Moore still has stuff in production. Right.
Bless him.
God bless him.
It's a Skellington now.
Well, I would say Spice World, obviously, but I'm not going to go with that. Where are we? So it's where is he? I can find him. The Man Who Haunted Himself. That's
okay. Yeah.
Yes.
That's that's one of those great, because we talked before about. Well, it was something I think about a lot actually. I watched Microwave Massacre last night. But this is where Duncan and I's Venn diagram does not touch. And it's a great...
No, I like the look of that though. That looked really fun.
Yeah, well, that's an Arrow release of that movie. It's a kind of, I've talked about this before. Those kind of street level movies. I'll tell you where you and I discussed this. It was the Hercules New York, because it's a completely alternative perspective of 60s New York. And regardless of what you think of the film, that's a bunch of like on the street footage from 60s New York, right? And that's really interesting. And I think a lot of movies sort of capture that by accident, those kind of little slices of life. And Microwave Massacre is a good example of that. And I think there's a bunch of movies. And The Man Who Haunted Himself?
Yes.
It's a great example of that, I think, because there was a time when there was a kind of business uniform in London where you had to wear the bowler hat and the briefcase, and it's about that kind of businessman. And there's loads of street level London stuff. And I remember, I think the intro, to the opening to that film is him. The opening to that film is him going to his job and being a wanker. I don't know if you remember, but like it's about you see how ruthless he is in his day-to-day life and stuff. And and it's a lovely little kind of colour film version of that era of London. And London was very widely documented at that time, but it's just very interesting bit of film.
It's definitely worth checking out. I haven't watched it in a long time, but 1970 that came out, so go check it out. I wonder if Dad, have you seen it?
Oh, apologies, 70s London, just
I don't know if Dad's seen it. He might have done. He was around then. He was around having a banana. Anyway, Pierce Brosnan's best non-Bond film.
Brosnan, because he's someone we both really love. It's Livewire. Is Frank still here? It's Livewire, Frank. It's Livewire.
I mean, the obvious one, I suppose, is Thomas Crown. I don't.
Oh yes, of course.
I like that film. I don't. I think he's great in it, but I don't think it's his best. I think maybe something like The Matador. If you haven't seen The Matador, that is a cracking.
Yeah, I haven't, and I always wanted to actually.
Oh, I'll lend it to you. I've got it. Him and Greg Kinnear are really good in that.
Unironically, Ross Saunders has just said Mrs. Doubtfire, and actually, like, he's really great in Mrs. Doubtfire. Because the thing is, like, he's not. That's a really interesting performance because his whole function is handsome new boyfriend, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he needs to not be a prick because he's not unlikable in that.
Yeah, true.
The point is that Robin Williams is the unlikable one, and he poisons him and then saves him, and like he is not a bad guy. He just happens to be better looking and have a nicer job, and not be deceiving his ex-wife. So you can't sort of like him more.
The only thing I'll say is that he's still like the idea that Sally Field would choose at the end of that would still choose Robin Williams. Well, I suppose she doesn't, does she?
No,
that's
true. What I like, and that's based on an Anne Fine book, and Anne Fine had a very good way of not talking down to children. And the point, what the kind of button on Doubtfire is that he gets to see his kids.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Yeah, he's great in that. I'm just going to throw The Matador in because I like that film. I like After the Sunset, which is a Brett Ratner film. But
that's the Ratner one, yeah.
The only reason I like it is because it's all in the Bahamas, so. It's what's that, and then very quickly, Daniel Craig's non-Bond. Do you like the film, Adrian?
I would like to see Knives Out, the Ryan Johnson one. It's supposed to be great.
Yes, I've not seen that.
Yeah. It's on Prime, I believe.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll have to check it out. Logan Lucky is very good.
That's a Soderbergh one, isn't it?
Soderbergh one. He's just part of an ensemble cast in that. I'd have to go with Dragon Tattoo. I really think the Fincher Dragon Tattoo film is really, really good. You're not supposed to like it because it's the Americanized version of the original, but I think that's a really cracking film.
It's directed by Fincher, man. Like, come on.
It's a brilliant film. I think it's a brilliant film.
We've had a super chat from Daniel Hawkins who has a request for you. Do you want to deal with that? Do you want to read that out and?
Well, I don't know if I can do this, Daniel, if I'm honest. Watching this on playback now, can Duncan wish my dad a happy birthday in an Elephant Man voice, please? He's just got out of the hospital and I've gotten him into your videos.
So you've not seen the David Lynch Elephant Man film or a John Hurt's Elephant Man? Or?
No, I mean, I know of it because I know the bit where he goes, I am a human being, or whatever.
You're nailing it. It's funny.
Well, I've never considered that I could do that. You know what I mean? Like,
you just did quite a good one.
Can you do an impression of Donald Duck fucking a race car over a building of?
You did dude. You can wish Daniel's dad happy birthday in that voice. You did a very good one just now. It's effortless. The effortless talent of Duncan Casey.
Okay, but please, no one be offended by this because it is sort of. Do you know what I mean?
It's a bit mean. It is a bit mean.
But all right. Happy birthday. Actually, do you know what? It's not far away from the voice I do for Winston. Hello, which is kind of like Homer Simpson. Yeah, they don't know where you. But yeah, it's like I are Winston. That's my voice for my dog.
I are Winston. Oh.
Yeah, he confuses things. I put a thing on Instagram of him because I turned round. Right, this is. So one of my favourite images in The Simpsons is that bit where Homer's like the kids are running riot and Homer he's reading something and he puts it down and Maggie is standing in front of him because the kids have got hold of her, and she's covered in makeup and a dress that doesn't fit, and she's standing in a pair of stilettos, and the back of the stilettos are like sticking way out behind her.
Oh yeah, right.
And he just goes, "Yeah, shit, I'm out of here," and he like goes to the pub. And and I turned around the other day, and Winston was sat next to the dining room table, and my wife's slippers were there, and he was just stood in the slippers, like his front paws were just in the slippers, and I was like, right. And so I took a picture of it and put it on Instagram, and I just put like, "Am this my shoes?" Like, so anyway, there we go.
Oh,
but,
bless him. Well, Dante speaks over.
Yes,
Just
yes.
completely bowled out of that. I kind of feel like this was a successful watch party.
Well, I hope so.
I feel like it was, even though it's an odd one because we had a break and we came back. We came back and did Sunset Lambs, and I feel like we got quite involved in Sunset Lambs.
Indeed.
I feel like there was a lot to be discussed, whereas this less so. But there's a bunch of people here. We had a good time. Everyone had fun. I hope I did.
It's not a film that really requires picking apart.
Doesn't really
and
lend
analysing.
itself to, because Silence of the Lambs massively does. Silence of the Lambs was a film that came up in my degree and my A levels and stuff. Whereas like no one was going like, okay, so now Dante's pick.
Yes, Blade Runner, Silence of the Lambs, Dante's pick.
Fuck you, Toby. Fuck you.
Yes,
I did. Oddly enough, here's the thing that happened the other day. Well, I said the other day, I had a big clear out in here to create this area that you see behind you at the moment, and I moved all my furniture around, and I had to chuck a bunch of shit out of the cupboard, and I found a bunch of my uni essays because I kept a bunch of the printed copies of my uni essays back with the marking sheets on them, so I got nothing bad to do. And one of them, I did a unit on film journalism, and very, very, very early on in our association, Duncan, you agreed to meet me, and I interviewed you for like a film.
Yes.
Do you remember? I had to. My assignment was to write a fake article for a local publication. I was like, "Well, I'm going to interview this actor, Duncan Casey."
Local wanker thinks he's an actor.
Yeah, well, local wanker writes fake article about local wanker for fake local newspaper for uni credit.
The Wanker Chronicles.
That unit was taught by Toby. And that interview was marked by Toby.
Oh,
so I found that because I of course that's the case. I didn't really think about it, but I found the submitted piece of work, because you submit it and you get the kind of, well, I don't know what they probably get it sent to their brains now or something, but you get the kind of thing stapled back with the marking sheet on the front.
Yeah. And
it was this, Toby is here by design, but it was me interviewing Duncan as marked by Toby Venables. So there you go. And
it all culminated in me and Toby talking about my ridiculous Hellraiser vagina theory.
Precisely, something that you were keen to talk about, and it was worth it. It was a good payoff. It was a good.
I enjoyed that episode. I really had fun talking to him. And bless him, he's someone who does not. He's very. He's open-minded to listening to idiots like me with my stupid theories.
Oh, Toby's very easy to talk to, man. That's one of the things, because like in class, I used to derail his class with my bullshit, and then I didn't speak to Toby because I went and had like tutor meetings with Toby and stuff, and I didn't speak to him for years. And when I did my Die Hard video, I emailed him as like, "Do you want to come and do the thing?" And he said, "Yeah," and then here we are. God love him, bless him.
Yeah. Lovely.
Daniel Hawkins sent another £2 and says, "Sorry guys, that was my dad's legitimate request." Don't apologise.
Please don't.
Mr. Hawkins, no. Mr. Hawkins Senior, it was our pleasure. It's just Duncan was perhaps a little bit out of your comfort zone, but you did a very good.
I was caught up with. Well, all I remember, because it's in so many of those like classic film things, and he goes, "I am a human being," or whatever, but that's the I don't.
That's good.
I haven't seen
That's good.
Film.
That's good. It's great. Do you know Mel Brooks produced the Elephant Man, the David Lynch Elephant Man film? Yes.
Shit,
Mel Brooks produced a bunch of serious stuff, and the Elephant Man film, which was directed by David Lynch, and I believe Mel Brooks sought out David Lynch for it. He wanted it black and white, and the producers the studio weren't having it, and Mel Brooks fought for him to then release the film black and white. A wonderful shit. This didn't come up last week. An amazing performance. Like it's John Hurt and Anthony Hopkins, and it's David Lynch. David Lynch is the world's maddest cunt. I'm going to go against Frankie Boyle because he thinks that Conor McGregor's the world's maddest cunt, but I think David Lynch is the world's maddest cunt. And it's the world's maddest cunt making a kind of straight period Elephant Man story. It's wonderful. Amazing film. Incredible film. And Anthony Hopkins one of the best Hopkins performances for me.
Okay.
Well,
and the credits are still going. Bloody hell.
Jesus Christ.
But yes, that's one of those films I really need to watch that I just haven't. It's one of those sort of classic films you're supposed to have seen, and I haven't. I think I saw a bit of it when I was younger, but I think when I was younger, I just assumed it was this really old film because it's in black and white.
Understandable, yeah. Just a documentary that was made in Whitechapel. Yeah. Robert Myers, someday you guys need to do a movie I've worked on and can comment on the FX. Robert, I think you've commented a few times and said which movies you've worked on, and forgive me, but I can't remember. So if you want to...
Robert, didn't you work on Terminator Genesis?
Terminator Salvation, wasn't it? No,
Genesis, I think.
No, Terminator Dark Fate, wasn't it?
One of them's.
We're so sorry, Robert.
You don't want us to comment on that.
We're so sorry. Ian McGarr is massively in tune with the Val Verde vibe and says, "Did the elephant man have an elephant dick?" That's the most Val Verde comment I've ever heard in my whole life. That's absolutely up for debate, mate. Elephantitis of the penis. Absolutely up for debate.
Did he have an elephant's memory?
Does he remember his massive elephant penis? Doug Wanacott says David Lynch has a short on Netflix which he stars in. He's interrogating a monkey in it. Of fucking course he is. Of course he is. There was he did those PlayStation. Sony paid David Lynch a ton of money to do PS2 adverts back in the day, and it's just like a duck. So they were just aggressively weird, nonsensical crap. But the point was, Sony get to say David Lynch did this. Do you like FIFA? That's all that was. That's all that was. But hey, David Lynch, he's a weird dude. He's one of the most film studies directors of all. But I love David Lynch's movies, but I've never watched Twin Peaks. Come at me, bro. Come at me.
I've never watched it.
Well, Twin Peaks has been revived, and that was that whole thing. And David Lynch came back to another season of Twin Peaks. I never really watched it, but I love his films.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a series of David Lynch. Like I even watched Lost Highway. I love how Lost Highway just takes this massive turn and just becomes a completely different film. And same for Mulholland Drive. Really, like there's these kind of breaking points in both those movies. But I don't really want to watch Twin Peaks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Knives Out is not on Prime.
Oh no!
You raised my expectation and dashed them.
It's because I hate you. I hate you.
I hate you.
Oh, hate you. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! I tell you
what is free to download at the moment is Erica.
Erica
PlayStation Plus.
On PlayStation Plus, you can download Erica. It's a live-action FMV revival video game that stars Duncan Casey.
What? Yeah.
Play it for free, motherfuckers. Like, we should be shouting out from the rooftops, man. Like, come on.
Well, it's free if you're a PlayStation Plus member, which I gather is a paid thing.
Yeah, it's not free. It's free if you have the subscription service.
Freedom isn't free.
It
costs a hefty fucking fee.
It costs folks like you and me. Freedom costs $1.05.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I've been going like, oh, it's free, and it's not. And as someone who has Xbox Live Gold, I should know better. Because you're paying for the subscription service. I'm not against. What I've done a bunch recently is like, I'm not against throwing down, because there's a bunch of movies on a different streaming services. I'm not going to say which one because that's scummy. But there's like £2.50 to rent like Bill and Ted, and I really want to watch Bill and Ted. £2.50, fuck it. That's less than a beer these days.
We do that sometimes, yeah.
Like not all the time. We wanted
to watch Speed the other day, and I think it was like $2.99 to rent it off. And I was like, yeah, but we could just buy it for like a tenner. And she was like, no, like we don't just rent it. The
thing is that you can buy the Blu-ray and keep it forever, but you got to wait for it to come in the post. I'm not buying a digital license. You can suck my ass. But like to rent for £2.50, if you're saying to me, I always view like renting a movie like I used to back in the day, and games, because I used to rent games as well. And I was like, me and my ex-girlfriend were Blockbuster till they closed down, because she used to walk home past Blockbuster, and there was stuff that wasn't on Netflix. So like if there was something just come out to rent, I'd go like, hey baby, can you go like you want to watch this? Can you pick it up on the way home? And the great thing is, on Monday she'd put it in that letterbox, you know, like drop it off on the way back. And that was £2.50 for a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
You know, so when I see Bill and Ted for $2.50, and I already watched Bill and Ted, and I haven't dropped a bunch of money on that, yeah, I'll watch Bill and Ted for £2.50. That's pretty reasonable. Like a pizza is £2.50 from the supermarket, and then like 5 beers is £4, and it's like, that's a night in. It's a sad night in, but it's my night in. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I think we have to be careful what we complain about with that as well, because it's like, actually, you know, we lamented the fact that like physical media used to cost an awful lot, and then going to the cinema costs a lot, and it's like, we need to be careful what we complain about, because actually, do you know what? Because for the longest time I was like, why not just make movies a couple of quid to rent, you know, online, and then we'd all watch them and we wouldn't pirate them. But it's like, actually, you do have to. You know, it's like there's the recent thing with No Time to Die being, and now it looks like it might not come out in November. There's rumors around it getting pushed back again. But understandably, you know, a lot of people have been like, I saw some guy on like a Facebook group, or whatever, going like, I just don't get why they don't just put it out on VOD. I mean, I don't mind watching it on my TV. And it's like, that's not the point, you cretin. It's like, you arrogant, entitled bastard. It's like, that's not, you don't mind. Oh, well then, I guess that, you know, it's like, that's because it just won't make any money. It's like, why don't you get that? It costs like, God knows how much, $250 million. You're not going to recoup that by... The whole point of the cinema is essentially you get to hold people hostage. If they want to see the film, they have to pay £10 each and go and see it.
Yeah, look, having worked inside cinemas, like, they're horrible, cynical cunts. I'm not going to say which chain I work for. They're horrible, cynical cunts that treat their workers like shit. And the reason that is because Hollywood screws them first, and then they screw you, the worker. Like, and I hate that, because let me finish, because
yeah.
You know what I'm like, and I know what you're like. But let me finish. I massively believe in experiencing a film in the cinema. I've said this a bunch of times. Like, I hate what that's become economically.
Yeah.
But the collective experience of seeing a film, and I was thinking about this the other day, like something that existed before what we know. Like, we are up to this date in terms of receiving film media, we are the most spoiled generation by quite a distance. So I was just sitting about the other day thinking about how, you know, there was a time where you would go out to see the new Cary Grant film. And what that would mean was that, like, your whole family would go out on a Friday night for 6 hours, because you'd, like, watch a band, and you'd eat a meal, and you'd watch, like, the cartoon, and then you'd watch the B movie, which is where that phrase came from. And then you'd watch another cartoon and listen to some more music and have an overture. And then you'd watch the A movie, and then you'd fuck off. Right, that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
And when we were kids, there was like the ABC cinema in Cambridge, and the old school cinemas. There was one in Royston as well, where you would go in and an old lady would come out and sell ice creams to you halfway through, and it was palatial. And the point was that exhibition was palatial, right? You went to a palace to watch a film, and that was how the working classes experienced this kind of thing they would never know before. It was gilded seats and all this shit. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the rich people pay for better seats and stuff. And you would go and do that. And that somehow in the 90s changed into get in, watch the film, fuck off, £9 for pick and mix. Right?
I wasn't going to disagree with you on
No,
that.
but regardless of that, no matter how you see it, in the £9 pick and mix, fuck yourself model, what still exists is a group of people who don't know each other experiencing the same emotions at the same time, and they can't pause or rewind or leave. Right? That's irreplaceable.
My point isn't that is an excusable model. My point is the fact that, like, when lockdown happened, the model for making a film like a James Bond film was opening box office weekend. That's how you make $250 million back. Films like that should not cost $250 million. Yeah, I'm sorry, you don't need to spend that amount of money on a film. I get that they're very expensive to mount and to make, but it's like, you know, that isn't. You don't need to spend that. I know. I don't get it.
It's an appallingly grotesque amount of money. It's an appallingly grotesque amount of money. Yeah, in our lifetimes, a film will cost $1 billion.
Yeah, well, the last two Avengers films collectively cost $1 billion.
Yes, true.
But the point being is that, you know, I get with that film, there's a lot of corporate sponsorship that has to be That's another thing altogether. But what I was trying to get at is it's like you can't just change the model midstream for how you're going to recoup the money. You've just promised a bunch of people that they're going to get X, Y, and Z off the back of giving you a load of money to make the Bond film, right? Omega, Heineken, et al. You can't then just turn around and go, actually, we're just going to chuck it out on VOD and see what comes back. It's like, that's not how you make $250 million.
Well, here's the thing,
I'm not saying that's right. And I think actually what this shines a light on is what you're talking about, which is like this shouldn't be the model going forward. It's been broken for a long time. A Bond film, it can work with a Bond film just about that because that's a big thing and it's a big franchise and I get it. But for most stuff, and this is the thing, what I have, I want to be in lots of movies. I want to work in stuff, but it's like I'm just not famous, and that excludes me from fucking everything, from so much opportunity, because it's like, because we've got so much riding on this, and that speaks to what you're talking about. I mean, I totally agree with you. I'm not, but it just winds me up that people also have this idea that they can somehow get it. The problem is this disconnect between that being the model and then people thinking they should just be entitled to stuff for free. I think
the problem is that the aftermarket has become obfuscated because rental, like back in the day, like you used to go see a movie and then you could buy it on tape and then you could rent it on tape first, then buy it on tape. And the gap was huge as well. Like sometimes it was a year, but it would be 6 months to a year. So you'd go see the movie you wanted to see, and then you would wait for it to come out. And particularly international releases, like it would be out in the States, and we get it a year later, and whatever. And that gap's closed. And we've become so used to that now your guy that you're talking about is going like, "We'll just release it on VOD," and it's like, well, that's going to happen. Like VOD is after sales. It's not sales; it's after sales, and something. So there's a couple of films at the Canaries in the coal mine, yeah.
Troll thing, yeah.
Trolls World Tour, yeah. So Trolls World Tour did good, but Trolls World Tour was on a special kind of stream that was £15 a go, and like that £15 a go does not apply to the average punter. Well, it kind of does. Trolls World Tour, you're not going to watch that in a cinema. I'm not going to watch that in a cinema. Like. You would go for your wife, I would go for my wife, Ivan, and that's 2 tickets, and it's like 20 quid, yeah? Unless you do like Orange Wednesdays, it's not Orange Wednesdays anymore. You do whatever discount situation's going on, you do that. Yeah, so you two pay, let's just say both couples in this scenario you'd pay 18 quid, maybe, for both of you to go, yeah?
Yeah.
If you are a dad and a mum with 2 kids, 10 quid for dad, 10 quid for mum, 5 quid for each of the kids. It's 30 quid before you even started. And you've gone with kids. So either you're smuggling in Butterkist or you're doing the fucking insane pick and mix situation.
So it's another 20 quid for...
Dude, yeah. And you see that on these kind of Mumsnet and shit where it's like, it cost me £50 to go to cinema. So you're paying £15 to rent a film in one hit. Yeah. So as a dad of 2... You're going to be a dad soon. Like, no one's reproducing with me in a hurry, so whatever. But that's appealing to you, yeah? That's £15. That's £15, yeah? And it would cost you 50 quid. But I'm the other end of the market. I'm the end of the market that doesn't want to pay £15 to watch Troll 3 because it would normally cost me 9 and I get to sit in the cinema. So there's this broad thing where like there's no sort of middle ground. So for you as not you, Duncan, because you've only got one and it's a bump, but... for the family situation, £15 is a bargain. And they made a ton of money because all these families, because that's the demographic for that film. James Bond is not that demographic. If you go and charge £15 for a download, a bunch of people aren't going to do it. A bunch of people are going to do it. Like, no one's getting a discount for taking their family into the living room for 15 quid, whereas you and I wouldn't do it. And you don't want to experience it that way. You want to experience it on a big screen.
Well,
surely.
The Trolls thing, yeah. So there's a sort of seesaw equilibrium that you could look at with Trolls, and you could price it and say, how many more people are likely to look at that in exactly the light that you've just said and go to the cinema, this would cost us 50 quid as a family, so we'd never go. But it's costing us 15 and it's a night in, we don't have to go anywhere. We can order takeaway. It's going to cost us collectively like 30 quid. We'll do it, right? And then how much more do you make because you do that than you would make charging 50, everyone having to pay 50 quid. So there's you can do that with that. But like you say with the James Bond film, it's like, well, you can more or less reliably say every man of a certain age is going to go and see that, and they're probably going to take their son of a certain age, or they're going to take their spouse, or they're going to, you know what I mean? Like
I think an important thing to note there as well is that a lot of that audience are going to be single people, man or woman. It's probably going to be guys, but that isn't really important to the demographic I'm going to illustrate. Is that it would be groups of single people. So I'm not into Bond, but think about it though. Of a certain age, if you weren't coupled, if you weren't married, if you're in your 20s, it'd be you and a couple of your mates all go to Bond and pay £10-12 each. Instead of, because as a couple you consider your finances collective, but a bunch of that audience is going to be people who are younger and single, who are individually paying a price. They're not domiciled. They don't share a house necessarily.
That's true.
But they're paying on an individual ticket. So they may go as a collective, because there's not a kind of weird hinterland of random individual people seeing it. There are people who are technically individual people. So they've all sat around at work all day in their office, wherever they work, or their restaurant, or wherever they work, and gone, oh, dude, Bond's out Friday. We've got to go see Bond, like midnight Bond, whatever. Like you and I used to do with Ollie, like whatever. Like, okay, we're reviewing him, but we did kind of do that as mates. Like we'd go out.
I've done it with other mates.
Yeah,
as
well,
sorry,
same. No, dude, same. Like me and I haven't done it. Like I've been doing it for years. I'm a big cinema fan, man. I've been seeing movies on. Like I started seeing movies because I pay for our money. But you're an individual ticket, so technically you're an individual. You're not domiciled together, but you are. Paying an individual ticket. You know.
Yeah. Which again is why you can't open a film like that under social distancing conditions. Like that's a whole other thing. That's why they're sort of saying that by November, realistically, are we going to have back to normal? Anyone can go. Like you can just sell out cinemas nationwide. Like I don't think so. And they're going to have to really look at that. And I honestly think, worldwide, are people going to just be back in the cinema as they used to be?
It's a gesture. I'm just gonna. We've had actually some super chats come in.
Exactly
please, do you want to do it? Please do it.
Shall I do Carl and you can do the other one?
Yeah, sure.
The ones. Carl Rivers sent us a great super chat. It says it's cost me £2 to watch this, and he sent us £2.
It's the Ouroboros of super chats.
Great super chat. We loved it. And yeah.
Sam Montgomery says, "Was it Cineworld Rich?" No comment. Adrian,
no comment.
Do you want to read it? Yeah, well, no. I should read Adrian's because it would be a bit self-serving if you read it.
Okay,
but great stream, guys. Duncan, you were absolutely brilliant. In Erica had leading man charisma in abundance, doesn't he? Just.
You're so
look
sweet.
at him. I'm his loudly shirted sidekick. I die at the end of the first act.
Mate,
it'd be my my pleasure to die at the end of the first act, as long as it's like really grim. Getting impaled on a stick or something,
Thank you, mate. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind.
I love the cinema. I hate the cinema. I love the experience. I hate being surrounded by feckless idiots, screaming children or giggling teens, says Steve Allen. The cinema's a mixed bag, and that's the roll of the dice you take with the cinema. To me, I mean, it's something I exalt. I think the collective experience is very important, and I think it's at the root of how we experience cinema. And it certainly was, cinema has existed since, technically has existed since the end of the 19th century, and exhibition carried on for like home video came into the game so late, and that was considered as a game-breaking thing. And now you can watch anything in HD and scrub through it. Like it's beyond anything that existed before. The idea was that you would see a film, you would watch it once, and then if you were lucky, you'd watch it on television in a compromised form again years later, barely remembering it.
Like the 80s, that was as recent as like the 80s.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my god, absolutely. Yeah. Like home video, the VCRs of the 1980s were like £1,000. It was absolutely insane. Yeah. And the top end videos were kind of £300, like Inception. It's bananas. Like and we used to tape things off TV because that was the thing. It was the kind of thing of scraping things off television. Something that I tried to keep alive, but I couldn't, and I forgot about, is that in this country, I know like in the States people tend to say VCR, but in this country it's just your video. You called it your video, if someone stole my video, I lent in my video, my video is broken. You just called it a video.
Or a video player, we used to call it.
No, the colloquialism is the video. It's just video. It was a video. My video. Yeah. I've got a video. He's got a video. I bought a new video. Or maybe it's a fucking council thing. I don't know. But like, I love that. I loved it. It's like,
hey, I was on the council estate too, man.
Well, there you go. I still I love. I do this because I'm a cunt. But when I record stuff, I always say I'm taping it, and I do it belligerently. I do it out of pure belligerence. I just want to fuck the next generation. I was like, he's taping it. Like, what's he talking about? But like, you know, when you DVR shit, like, I don't watch a lot of broadcast TV, man. Like, there's not much for me on broadcast TV. You know, I'm speaking to someone who works at home as well. There's not much for me on broadcast TV. But I always say I'm taping shit. It's like, oh shit, I'm going to tape that. Oh, is that? Oh, what's on? Like, Escape from LA's on. I'm going to tape that. That's right. I'm taping Escape from LA, motherfucker. But, you know, I'm going to tape it. You taping it? Yeah. I'm taping it. Yeah.
Well, because video is sort of also stuck around as a thing. You know, when you want to separate talking about video and audio, people still say video to mean moving image rather than, you know.
In my line of work, because I get you know, I call photography stills, and I love doing that because I've got I work hand in hand with a lot of photographers. My best friend, like one of my best friends, Simon, he's a photographer, and we do a bunch of shit together. I like to internally derisively refer to his work as stills. It's like, I don't do stills. He does stills. It's like I do video. He does stills.
Here's a weird thing about stills. You have to audition to be in a stills campaign, which I find odd.
Give up. There was a thing. Like some random Canadian university, their whole prospectus had like a bunch of pictures of John Boyega in it. Because before John Boyega was a big deal, he did that. He auditioned for a stills campaign, and then like he was in loads of Shutterstock stuff of like holding books and whatever. So suddenly, like Star Wars came out, and this Canadian university, it was like, oh fuck, the Star Wars guys in like our prospectus, and it's really obvious. Because you know he was some nobody from South London for the long until Attack the Block. You know he was nobody, and their whole prospectus was pictures of John Boyega, just like you know.
Hey, why not, man? You might as well. I'm just going to have to go and have a wee.
Oh shit! Can we tag?
Would you mind?
Because I need one on when you come back.
Oh, of course. You if you don't mind maintaining the status quo.
Well, here we go. There's a bit of weird lag. Twitch does not have lag. I've discovered, which is odd. Yeah, YouTube does. So Twitch does not. Well, I feel it's in the options somewhere. I tried to look today, couldn't find it. I don't know. Because I'd normally say, hey, you know, could you ask Richard Jackson a question in the time it takes for Duncan Casey to urinate? And could Richard Jackson respond to that question? Well, this is how we find out. This is how we discover whether or not that's true. So, you know, catch up, guys. I'm going to be watching the chat. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to filibuster. I'm going to keep talking. I am a bullshitter. I'm a natural bullshitter. I can talk. I can keep going. It's more of a personality flaw, really, than a bonus, but I can just keep talking all day, not in a good way either. There's lots of ums and ahs. I'm not going to do just a minute, you know, I'm not into that whole vibe, but I can do it, you know. So you come at me with the shit. I haven't been reading the chat enough, as much as I should have done, really. All I can do right now is imagine Duncan Casey easing his bladder, releasing that sphincter at the top of the urethra and expelling urine, as he may well have done. Doug Wannacott says, my local hairdressers in Norwich had a picture of Tom Welling from Smallville in the window for years, like he got his haircut there. Wonderful. What's your thoughts on Burton's Planet of the Apes remake, particularly the weird twist in with Abraham Lincoln, Cade Fisher? I'm a big fan of the Apes movies, which is something Brad and I intend to talk about. And the Tim Burton one, I think it's probably the worst one. I mean, I think it's the worst Apes film. Because out of the first 5 movies, like, I don't hate any of them, but there are weaker entries. And I definitely think the best ones are 3 and 4. The Tim Burton one is just an anomaly. And then the Rise of the Planet of the Apes onwards, I really, really liked. Rise of the Planet of the Apes in particular, I think they did the best work with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and the subsequent ones were less good. The Tim Burton one is just so wrong-headed and misguided. I really hate it. So Ian McGar says, Duncan with his lad in his hand waiting to do his business. I'm Snorlax follows with his Dante's Peak. Here he comes. I got to tell him, oi, Oi, Casey.
Hello. Yeah.
Ian McGar says, Duncan with his lad in his hand, waiting to do the business.
Yeah. Although I'll be honest, I sat down.
Do you look? I'm going to go right.
Yeah.
But I sit down to pee so much, like most of the time. Do you know what? You're going to be a dad soon, but even as a single weirdo, it's just like it's just a chance to sit down. You know what I mean?
I obviously live in a house with the toilet seat is down quite a lot, and we have 3 toilets, so I could go and just leave one up. But sometimes I'm just like, it's fancy, sit down, even though I've just been sat down for the last however long. Well, there you go.
That in the in-betweeners, which I reference a few times, but like Neil in the in-betweeners says, I sit down to pee sometimes for a treat, which when I was in my 20s was very funny. And then when I was in my 30s, it turned into life advice. And now, now I'm cruising into the latter end of my 30s. I'm kind of like, why would I do it any other way?
Do this all the time. You act like you're 50. You're like we're middle aged. You used to say that when we were like 32.
Whoa.
What's up with that?
What did I say? I said when we're cruising into the latter end of our 30s. How old are you?
When I'm 36. That's not the latter end of my 30s.
It is. Anything beyond 35 is the latter end of your 30s, my friend. That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, I'm happy to be there when I'm there, but I'm not going to say...
You are there! You are there. Mate, the 30 to 35 is the first end of your 30s. 35 to 40 is the latter end of your 30s. I did not call you middle-aged.
Go and do your wee and check your prostate.
Alright guys, Doug is going to entertain you whilst I finger my walnut.
I really hope my dad's just tuned out at this point. Oh god. How are we doing, everyone? Anyway, let's have some grown up chat. Having just decried a bit, saying how old we are. My Duncan hits the inside of the bowl when I sit down, says Nick Matteo. Fair enough. Let's have a look. What are people saying? Who are your favourite film composers? Ennio Morricone died very recently. He was obviously a brilliant composer. John Williams, of course, fantastic.
Great composer, fantastic.
I can't not go to Donald Trump. I'm sorry. There it is. Draining with Duncan says, Hans really good, Giga. Training with Duncan with the penis and the swords and the monkey nuts. That's not a thing he ever said. Sometimes I treat myself to a stand-up wee, just to remind myself that I still can, says Obscure Entertainment. Very good. I still haven't convinced my wife to try and do a stand-up wee, but that might be on the cards. Probably not. Let's see. Who else? I know I asked before, but would you guys do a watch party for Batman 89? Yeah, we could put that on the vote.
We'd do that for next week, or?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I'll stick it on. See where we get to. If you guys don't know, Patreon get to vote for what we do. So yes, but I will stick that on there, definitely. We were just talking about peeing, obviously.
Of course, yes.
Naturally,
releasing the urine, expelling urine. My friend Tim used to always call it expelling urine, and I found that I still find it funny. He's done it for about 10 years. He would just get up in a polite situation and say, "Excuse my need to expel urine," and I still laugh at it. I think it's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. I don't know what you're saying for next week. I kind of felt, here's the thing, this felt like a successful watch party to me.
Okay.
Because I don't know, like it was a film where there wasn't an expectation of hugely involved analysis, and everyone just got to hang out and have a laugh. And we got, I don't know, is that bad? I feel like that's bad.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that's part of the fun, isn't it? I mean, isn't that the idea? Isn't it?
Isn't that the idea, Clarice?
I mean, I suppose we didn't. The thing where these sort of tend to differ from commentaries, which is our real bread and butter, is the fact that we're not I think the thing with the commentary is we're not looking at a chat. We're not talking. It's not live. There isn't.
Yeah,
I mean, even though it has
the
a
point
sort
of this
live,
is that it's interactive.
Yeah,
that's
I
the
think
point.
The commentary is obviously when we're still watching the film, and it's the focal point, and it's the kind of spark for what we talk about. Whereas with this, it's not so much. So I suppose what I'm noticing is that obviously these are kind of our bread and butter at the moment, and the Monday things aren't. That people are enjoying them who watch them, but they're not getting the numbers, they're not getting the views, which I get. I do understand, but I think I suppose we've had to really totally reshift our model, if you like, and I'll be interested to see how it goes when we go back to the old way of working, because I
wonder who's engaged with you. Just to be clear, Duncan and I shared a car park 3 months ago. Like that's because we see each other like this every week, right? We have it's hard to describe. We have a very intense friendship that's also a work relationship but we get paid to just sort of dick about and be ourselves, right? So it's this weird thing.
It's great. I mean, it's a
really it's fucking magic, mate. Jesus Christ, if I got like a full-time living off of this, fuck, I'd die a happy man, but it ain't gonna happen. But so we haven't let's see. We briefly met in a car park to hand off posters 3 months ago, like a drug deal. Because I think I had to leave them on the floor and step back. You know what I mean? Like, it was that weird COVID.
Yeah,
it was peak pandemic. Like, just hand that off, and whereas usually we would meet up a minimum of once a month, shoot 4 episodes, and then go have a few beers. So it was a day of working and hanging out. Well, no, because what would normally happen is you would spend a day at mine, and then 2 weeks later I'd spend a day at yours, and we record video at mine and audio at yours.
Yeah.
So we'd see each other, we'd be in each other's presence all day, and in my case, when I come to you, I'd often stay at yours overnight, every 2 weeks. And now, I've seen you once. Like, this year, I've probably seen you a handful of times where we'd normally have this intense working relationship, and it's just sort of gone because of the craziness. It's completely changed. And that is weird to me, but we text all the time, and it's mostly like we have quite fun WhatsApps of just Alan Partridge gifs and being pure. Like daily, right? We talk every day.
And then pretty much, man. No, I mean it's funny because when you put it like that, I'm like, oh Jesus, I haven't actually seen you in a very long time, but it's nice that I think the spirit of it has kept going, and I hope that once things return to normal, we can kind of get back to growing things, because I don't know if we've experienced an odd sort of stagnation. We're edging 4,000 all the time, and we keep sort of going in terms of subs, and it's like, I don't know if that's because of where we're at, but or algorithms or what.
I don't know. I feel like because when we started the watch parties, we were getting like 300 people in, like at the very start, and that leveled off, and it's like half of that now. But it's been consistent, and it's been really amazing, like how consistent it's been. But I feel like when lockdown kicked off, like everyone was in the same boat, and it was a novelty factor, and we do it on Thursday nights, and there was like a novelty to being here. And I think that's kind of gone, and I think normality is kind of returning, and that's what's changed. Maybe that's the difference, because the hardcore are always here, like I said at the start of the stream. And
we really appreciate it, because it's
jeez, you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine, like,
the fact that 130 people turn up to listen to us say poo?
Can you imagine what it's like for 130 people to turn up and listen to you talk on purpose? That's amazing. It's incredible. Like, thank you so much. It means the world to us. Like, we love doing it, and this is a real. But listen, like, because we used to do rando live streams, didn't we? And I did the gaming streams quite a lot. And I was always super jazzed, like, to get. Sometimes I'd get like 130 people in a gaming stream, but the average was like 50. It's like 50 people are here on purpose. That's amazing. Like, it's incredible. And we kind of did a few rando ones, you and I, and then lockdown caused us to land on, hey, you know what, we can probably do, because we talked about it quite a bit, didn't we? And it was like, we have to do something. We talked about it as like, I think live streams are the way. I think we can work something out of OBS. We could do cameras. We could do this, and we did it, and it went really well. And it was just kind of this immensely flattering, lovely thing. It's really nice. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tube.
Hey, there's a lot of love going off in the chat about the Brad video, and I really I appreciate that, because it was something I really am keen to kind of, Mark Price is desperate to do. Well, desperate, sorry, Mark, if you're listening. That's, I don't mean you're desperate, but I mean Mark Price would love to do one as well, and we're going to do one. And I think, for me, that in terms of the kind of validating side of it, personally, I like the fact that I can bring in people who are, Richard is one as well. We are professionals in the film industry. Just because we're not in the latest fucking mega blockbuster, because we're not on a tentpole film, doesn't mean we don't work in the film industry. We work hard and we do what we do. And so I really like the idea that we can pull those people in and talk to them. And I'm going to keep reaching out to people. I'm going to keep trying and getting people in. But I will, it's. What I'm finding with those is like not that many people watch them, but those that do really, really get something out of it. So I guess that's. I
view there's things that I've always viewed like that. I think at the moment, as I said to you before we went on air, people have been stuck inside watching YouTube for months, and the pubs reopened on Saturday, and I think that's dropped off because now people are going back into the real world, and they don't necessarily want to be watching a screen anymore. And I get that. And if you choose to run a YouTube channel, have a YouTube channel, you will see that the metrics, up and down, if you choose to watch them. And that's perhaps what's happening here. Something that I've always felt regards to, I've talked about this a few times, but when I've done more obscure stuff, and it's something that Duncan Rule and I have done, but of course Duncan Prime and we've done things that, one for you, one for me type situation, don't we? When we think of something you and I want to do rather than something that's going to get hits.
Yeah.
I am fine with talking about Tetsuo Iron Man and it only getting 900 views, or Threads and only getting 900 views, or whatever, because I got to talk about Threads. I wanted to. So, so I've scratched that itch, so it doesn't get the views that it would get. And I like doing the obscure stuff because it, I get to talk about it finally, and if no one watches it, that's fine. So it's like the mini reviews have done, in terms of pure numbers, the mini reviews have not done well. Compared to what we're used to, they've not done well. Like anything less than 1,000 views in a week for us is generally it's below par. So we expect 1,000 views in a week. Both the mini reviews, the Quiet Earth one got 500 views, and the Class 99 one got 650 views in a week, which is significantly below par. However, I feel like the 600 people that watched it really wanted to watch it, and the comments have been really lovely. And watching your video with Brad, I feel it's the same, right?
Yeah.
Like, so fewer people watched it, but the ones that watched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if that's what's happening, then you're doing your job, right? Like, surely that's the.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's always this sort of compulsion to chase the algorithm and chase the audience. And don't get me wrong, that is there because we do want to grow this. I think what we've found is that we make little leaps every now and again, but most of the time we're just building up steam, and then it erupts with one or two videos that just nudge up, and then we have to sit and build up steam. And I think that's just normal for any YouTube channel that's starting out. I don't think we got a little special boost when we splintered off and did our own thing, and then for various reasons that hasn't, I don't think we've ported over every, whatever, but that's not the point. We are essentially a fledgling YouTube channel, and it takes years to build up the momentum and to get the, because no matter where you've come from, you've still got to build up traction and get the because you have to convince an algorithm essentially that your channel is
you have to tell a robot that you're worth its time. It's mad. Can you imagine, like, when I was a kid, I was all about robots. I still love robots. Bad things with robots in, I will watch and enjoy because it just bypasses my critical brain. What I didn't think would happen was I would be passively bargaining with a robot for about 2 years in order to get a dream career. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, well, if you tell the robot that a bunch of people want to hear you talk shit for money, it might anoint you. But try harder. You know, it's fucking weird. Like, you know.
Sam Montgomery sent us £5. So just to read his, and he says, "What is your stance on objective versus subjective film analysis? Personally, I think there's merit and cons to both types of film essayists / reviewers."
Do you have any thoughts on this immediately? I was thinking about this when I was making my lunch, actually. Oddly enough.
Wow. Okay. I think most of it. I think actually it kind of has to be subjective, doesn't it? I think you have to give your. I think that's always been the thing of it, and that's always been the rub between film critics and filmmakers is that, you know, what the fuck the critics know, blah 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 blah. But it's like actually, it's the point is that it is subjective. It's what spoke to them, and it's what speaks to anyone. And then there's some films that have a more collective appeal or more collective, you know, there's more of a herd reaction to something, and then there are films that are polarizing, or you know, but I think you can analyze film from a subjective point of view, and that's perfectly valid. I think objective film analysis can be quite dull, but that's my.
Wait, no, very good. I'm on the same page. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think the concept of objective film analysis is inherently false. It's something I remember really struggling with when we first did it in film studies, and we did it in A level, so I was 18 or whatever. So 18 or 17. Just think of objectivity as subjectivity, and I just kind of thought to myself even then, well, this doesn't make any sense because like objectivity is just data.
Yeah,
and you're talking about value judgments, and you can't make value judgments with just data. And I am very, very, very proud of our Star Wars objective review because, like, I honestly think like there is a point being there's, you know, it. Look, I don't want to suck my dick or whatever, but like we were trying to make a satirical point. Like you can't objectively review a film. An objective review of film is just a dry presentation of data, which was the joke we made, right? That was the joke. And a bunch of Star Wars fans got really annoyed by it. And it's like that, and what they missed was like, this isn't about Star Wars necessarily. This is about film criticism, because objective reviews do not have value judgments in them. Like, I mean,
night, Omar. Sorry, just
Omar, night, man.
Night, mate.
Nick Matteo just PayPal $10. He says.
Oh, look, I'll check. Keep going. Sorry, buddy.
But you know, you are making statements of fact in objective, and the thing is, and I understand where objective film criticism comes from, because there are things like something I've talked about before is like Justice League, or you know, Suicide Squad, or Fant Four Stick. They are films whose filmmaking is broken. So you're being presented with a broken product, and when I review films, I do try to think of a consumer on a Friday night, because I think that's who you're reviewing for. You're reviewing for someone who's laying down, someone who fucking works for £12 an hour, putting an hour of their life down for a film. £12 to see a film, right, or £10 to see a film, and should they go and see it? And if that is a broken product, like if that doesn't work, if its filmmaking is broken, like it won't work. But it's not that simple, because there's a grey area, and films deliberately subvert the form, you know, and films deliberately do things wrong. And Fant Four Stick, for example, wasn't that. And I don't really think objective film reviews, as I've just said, it is. The joke was you and I read a list of facts about Star Wars. You know, it's like dry facts about the budget and who's in it and how long it is, because that's an objective review, surely.
I suppose what you can say objective things about a film, like if the boom mic is in shot, that is objectively bad, unless it's a film about bad filmmaking. You know, it's like
Yeah,
there are examples, but you know what I mean. Like generally speaking, there are. There are what was it? Taken 3, I think, was used as an example of objectively bad editing because there's like 10 cuts of Liam Perineum Neeson jumping over a fence, and it's all he's doing is running and jumping over a fence, and it cuts every half a second, and it's utterly unwatchable. And so there are things you can be objective about, like cinematic. There are rules around cinema, like don't cross the line.
But then Kubrick does that on purpose, for example.
Yeah, but so I suppose you can be objective and you say, is it telling the story it's clearly setting out to tell? And especially nowadays where you've got trailers and things lay out their kind of mission statement quite early on. When you go into the cinema, you'll find that a lot of what you're going into the cinema to see is this making good on what it says it's supposed to be. And a lot of times now we're so cynical, we kind of go in and we go looking for how it isn't. So there are objective things about film, but ultimately it has to culminate in your subjective, what you took away from it. So I don't think film criticism can have objective elements to it, but I don't think it can be wholly objective. And that's the point, I suppose, is something, if you criticize a film 99% objectively and then 1% is subjective, is that whole review subjective?
Yeah, and there's that weird Mr. Spock thing of like, well, I've given the data, and it's like, well, no, that's not, because like Terminator Genesis, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at Terminator Genesis objectively. Terminator Genesis introduces its characters, introduces its story. That's all made very clear. Its editing is very clear. It's completely competent. The camera work is completely competent. It's not necessarily interesting. I was never confused at any point by Terminator Genesis. As a story, it makes sense. I don't think at any point it becomes confusing. I don't think at any point the writing misdirects me. In terms of a standalone film, objectively, it absolutely makes sense. Its framing is fine, its editing is fine, its pacing is fine, its music is fine. Objectively. Subjectively, I'm bringing the baggage of the previous Terminator films with me. And this is not a defense of Terminator Genesis, but I'm just saying if I want to take a film I don't like objectively, it's fine. Subjectively, it doesn't portray the characters properly. It has misjudged humour. It has misjudged tone. It has misjudged music choices, and I've just referenced the music. Like, all of that, in terms of its filmmaking, it's fine. It's, in terms of visual media, it's fine. Something such as Batman vs Superman, which, like, for the theatrical cut, they took out all the wide shots to then make it run quicker. That's not objectively, like, that's not fine. However, subjectively, maybe some people prefer that mode of filmmaking where you don't use wide shots or whatever. You see what I'm trying to say? Like,
and I think what people would say, some people would say to you with the example you gave of Genesis, it's like some people would categorize the misrepresentation of characters as an objectively bad thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they would say, well, this is clearly, but then what they're confusing is the fact that their subjective view of the character has not been interpreted. It's not been carried over. Now they might be right in that you could say that, okay, Sarah Connor in the first 2 Terminator films objectively is clearly shown to be X, Y, and Z, and then when you get to Genesis, it's like she's something completely different, and you could write that down and show how that is true and how there's a disparity. But really, that's an objective thing. That's
the baggage you've taken with you.
Yeah,
like, in terms of, and again, I honestly, like, I really think we were trying to make a point with that Star Wars video, because The Last Jedi was this thing, because I'm pretty certain that came from, I had the idea, Star Wars Objective Review, and then I spoke to you about it, and I said, here's the idea I've had, can we do this? And then together we made it happen, right? We kind of put it together.
Yeah, sure thing.
Well, it was my idea, but we made it together. I think we did a thing together, and it was like this. And it's because YouTube was full of, here's an objective review of The Last Jedi, and it's like, don't be so fucking ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? That is absolutely not a thing. And they're still there. Oddly enough, I had a little look yesterday because someone DM'd me about the Star Wars. Oh no, that's it. I did a video with Sam Gavin, Britain's foremost Spider-Man expert, Sam Gavin, which will come out on Patreon at the weekend. And we talked about the Star Wars objective review. So I just kind of like Googled Star Wars objective review, and yeah, like ours is pretty low down the ranks, but there's a bunch of people claiming to have done a Star Wars, and it's kind of like, okay, look, if your name is Pod Racer Jedi 420, you're probably not objective. You might like, if you got like the BBC News desk to do it, fine, but like if you've got all your associated baggage. You know, if you've built a persona on the internet based on Star Wars, you're not doing an objective review. Get the fuck out of here. That's crazy. You know, the best you could do is like a bunch of cunts like us quantifying. And the funniest thing about the Star Wars objective review we did is like, it made a lot of people really angry, particularly because it was quite a new channel. Like, people who followed us, one of us channels, kind of like, fuck you! And it's just like, okay. It was just a joke. All right, but don't worry about it. All right, fine.
Very quickly, because I appreciate we've gone over a little bit this evening, but I just wanted to do the Patreon. The PayPal guys. Mark Greaves sent us £2.99 and says, for Richard, which is worse in life, a honky tonk blobfish?
Wait, who sent this?
Mark Greaves.
Okay.
Or the malformed clone of Lee Evans.
I can't answer that. That unless Mark, I'm not answering that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have no idea what it means.
I'll tell you after. Mark Greaves knows what that means.
Okay. Phil Robinson sent us £10. Thank you, Phil. He says, great time tonight, guys. No questions. Just wanted to help keep those lovely Primark lights on. Much love. Thank you, Phil.
Hey, Primark lights. Cheers, Phil.
And then Nick Matteo sent us £7.63, which I'm assuming is a currency conversion, and sends us no message. So thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much, Mark. And thank you very much, Phil. So there you go. That's it. That was my chair, not my mum. Sorry, my chair just went.
We've gone over owing to impassioned objectivity discussions, I suppose. So should we call it end to this meeting of the Midnight Society?
Let's do so.
We'll cut to credits. So, guys, thank you so much. Lovely watch party. The last two have been great. I think coming back off the break's been. I think the break was really good. I feel like we've come back refreshed and renewed. Do you? I'm
sure. Yeah.
That. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. We love you. We're gonna come. We'll think about what happens.
We're gonna come.
I'm gonna come. Sorry, that was wrong. We'll figure out what goes on the ballot next week. One thing to discuss is that we're probably going to hit 4,000 subs between this week and next week.
Well, don't jinx it.
Well, it keeps going up and down. Yeah. Would you mind if I discuss what we discussed regards to 4,000 subs?
Please do. No, please do.
Okay. So when we hit 4,000 subs, we thought it would be nice to do like a party, like a 4,000 subs party. So maybe if we hit 4,000 subs before next week, the next stream will be a 4,000 subscriber celebration, maybe without a film, or maybe we'll just carry on with the film next week and then fit in the 4,000 sub thing as well. Mm-hmm. We're coming up to our second anniversary in August, and we're trying to split the difference between 2 years and 4,000 subs. 2 years is objective fact. 4,000 subscribers is fluid and immutable. So yeah, we want to kind of mark the occasion, I think, don't we? That's what we're trying to say. We want to mark the occasion of the 4,000 subs. Oh, Philip Casey just commented. There you go.
Oh, did he?
He did. Thanks, fellas. Stay well.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you, Philip.
God bless you. Yeah. Well, I'll give you. I must call him. I'm going to call him tomorrow or at the weekend, Dad. But I expect a call from you soon. I'm sorry I haven't called you in the last week. Yes. I was thinking of what I might do if we're going to do it remotely is go and get some martini ingredients and make myself a nice martini, and we'll sit down and just do whatever we.
You could do martinis, I could do whiskey sours. We'll do like a sort of cocktail exchange. That's fun.
Sounds good.
That's a fun thing we could do. All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'm into that. We'll do a kind of little party thing. You know, it'd be a fun sort of night in. I think it'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna cut to credits, Duncan Casey.
Very good. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody as well for coming along. Fun watch party. We did not talk about the movie, but that seems to have worked. Yep. That's fine. So we will see you next time in whatever, guys. Good night and good luck. Bye.